टारगेट देते हैं, लेकिन हम लोग एट द एंड ऑफ द डे सर, हम लोग जो पुट लेके कैरी किए हैं फ्राइडे, मतलब आज जो कैरी किए हैं उसके लिए सर, सारा सर पुट लिया है बैंक में भी, केमिकल्स में भी, मंडे के लिए सर। थैंक यू सर, बस यही बोलना था सर।
नहीं, नहीं, लेकिन ये क्या बोला आपने कि हम बेयर कार्टेल हैं?
सर बहुत लोग बोलते हैं सर कि आपके स्पेस जो ज्वाइन करते हैं ना, आप लोग के लिए बहुत नेगेटिविटी है। जो बुल्स है ना सर, वो लोग बियर कार्टेल ये सब क्या क्या बोलते रहते हैं,
नहीं,
बहुत
नहीं,
नेगेटिव
वो
कमेंट।
क्या बोल नहीं, 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 नेगेटिव पॉजिटिव कुछ नहीं होता है। अगर मैंने कोई नुक्स निकाला तो नेगेटिव हो गया?
नहीं सर, नेगेटिव तो सर हम लोग भी जानते हैं कि फंडामेंट।
नहीं, 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 और वो जो बंदा 21,000 बोलते हो उसको आप पॉजिटिव बोलते हो?
सर हम तो नहीं बोलते सर, हमारे लिए तो जस्ट सर जिसमें
नहीं
जो
तो
कन्विक्शन
नहीं, नहीं,
करेक्ट है।
नहीं, नहीं, लेकिन आपको मालूम है कि बुल्स ऐसे बोलते हैं, तो हमको मत बताओ ना यार। क्या मतलब है? कुत्ते भौंकते हैं, भौंकेंगे तो क्या वैल्यू है कुत्ते का भौंकने का?
कोई वैल्यू नहीं है सर।
तो फिर वो क्यों बताना है? और आपने पुट बाई किया या नहीं किया? नहीं, अच्छा किया, चलो अब पैसा आएगा वो
सर
थोड़ा बहुत हमको देना।
सर वो
वो
कहने का
थोड़ा
मतलब
बहुत
नहीं था सर, सर कहने का मतलब यही था कि हम लोग का जो कन्विक्शन था ना, फाइनली मतलब थोड़ा देर आया लेकिन करेक्ट ही कन्विक्शन था, यही
जी,
बोलना।
थैंक यू।
सॉरी सर अगर आपको बुरा लगा
नहीं,
सर,
नहीं, नहीं,
सॉरी।
नहीं, नहीं, अरे काय का बुरा लगे, क्यों बुरा लगे? आप बताओ मेरे को।
नहीं सर, सर मेरा तो
अरे
इंटेंट
स्पेस है,
सर
स्पेस है, आप ये स्पेस है, आप कुछ भी बोलो, कुछ भी
नहीं
करो।
सर, आपके स्पेस पे आए सर, आप सर आप पे सर आपका आपके लिए रिस्पेक्ट है सर, इसीलिए ना आपके लिए स्पेस पे आते हैं सर। तो
थैंक
वही
यू,
सर,
थैंक यू।
सॉरी सर अगर आपको लगा बुरा सर, कोई बात नहीं।
नहीं, 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 नॉट एट ऑल, आई एम परफेक्टली ऑल राइट। अरविलास,
हेलो, हाँ सर, प्रणाम सर।
प्रणाम।
सर मेरा तो आपकी वजह से ना काफी टाइम, मतलब हर बार मैं बचा हूँ और प्रॉफिट में ही रहा हूँ। और रही बात मंदी की, आपने कभी भी मतलब है ना गलत एडवाइस नहीं दी है। मंदी की बोली है तो बुरे स्टॉक में बोली है, आपने आज तक ये नहीं बोला जाके रिलायंस को शॉर्ट मार दो, जाके एचडीएफसी को शॉर्ट मार दो, जाके आईसीआई को शॉर्ट मार दो। आपने बोला है जो बुरा है ना उसको जाते ही शॉर्ट मारो, जो अच्छा है उसको यदि आप तेजी में रहते हो तो आप उसको खरीद के चलो। तो यही था सर जी, काफी टाइम बहुत अच्छी मदद मिलती है आपके यहाँ से, और बहुत ही आप जो इतना वैल्यूबल टाइम दे रहे हो अपना बाजार में, तो ये बहुत बड़ी बात है सर।
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
हाँ सर। बाकी सर ये है कि लोन की जो जैसे ये अब ये 75 बेसिस की ये बात कर रहे हैं ना, तो जुलाई में जैसे अभी एक न्यूज आई है कि 75 बेसिस से मतलब बढ़ाएंगे। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इन्फ्लेशन तो तब तक कंट्रोल नहीं होगी तब तक रशिया फर्टिलाइजर की सप्लाई शुरू नहीं करेगा।
सर, 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 इतना लंबा बात क्यों करने का है? फर्टिलाइजर नहीं है ना जो
सर जी, तो
जो
ओएफएस और डेल्टा कोर पे व्यू चाहिए था।
बकवास है। ओ ओएफएस अच्छा शेयर है, बहुत ही अच्छा शेयर है।
हाँ 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 हाँ।
डेल्टा पॉप वो 80 रुपये हो जाएगा। वो
ठीक सर।
गवर्नमेंट ने वो जीएसटी डाला है ना गैम्बलिंग के ऊपर,
हाँ 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 हाँ।
तो वो टिक नहीं पाएगा।
ठीक है सर, ठीक है।
थैंक यू।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
नाउ I'll share my thoughts. ये जो रोज डीआई लेती है और 1500 करोड़ 2000 करोड़, इट इज ट्राइंग टू मैच द एफआईआई फ्लो। तो मेरे हिसाब से ये बहुत ही तकलीफ वाला काम है। Why are you matching? For what joy? आपको जो चीज कल सस्ता मिलने वाला है आज आप वो क्यों लेते हो? और समझो 2000 करोड़ का ये एवरेज पे लेता है तो महीने का 40,000 करोड़ हुआ, 7,000 रुपया SIP का आता है नेट। तो बाकी का पैसा किसका है? EPFO का है, PF का है, क्या है? तो अपने बहुत डेंजरस गेम में घुस रहा है। तो मेरे हिसाब से जब DI को बेचना होगा तो किसको बेचेंगे? और दूसरी बात है, ये अपने ट्रेडिंग करते हैं तो रश ऑफ ब्लड आता है और 50 लॉट ले लेते हैं ना, 10 लॉट ले लेते हैं ना, ऐसा रश ऑफ ब्लड। तो उससे हमेशा नुकसान ही होगा, फायदा कभी नहीं होगा। रश ऑफ ब्लड से दूर रहिए। उसका एक ही इलाज है, आप कोई भी सौदा नक्की करते हो करने का, 1 मिनट के लिए आप वेट करो, 1 मिनट के लिए वेट करो और बाद में पंच करना, नहीं तो रश ऑफ ब्लड में आप 10-20 लॉट 50 लॉट मार दोगे, which will entail a loss to you. Third thing I wanted to say, I don't want to talk about HDFC Bank और I Bank और वो तुमको लेने का है ले, बेचने का है बेचो, उसके लिए मैं कोई ओपिनियन नहीं है। आपके पास में शेयर्स है तो रखिए, फ्यूचर में मत लीजिए। फ्यूचर में लेंगे बहुत बड़ा धोखा होगा। एक दिन ऐसा आएगा यही महीने में कि ADI ये एब्सेंट हो जाएगा, तो क्या होगा? तो अब फ्यूचर में आप पोजीशन मत रखिए। अब आज मिड कैप ऊपर थे सब, या भाव थे, या बहुत कम गिर। ये लास्ट चांस है निकलने का। इसके बाद जो नहीं निकला वो शेयर घर जमाए हो जाएगा। आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ चिंकू पिंकू स्टॉक लाइक दीपक नाइट्राइट, एस्ट्रल। ये एस्ट्रल का 33,000 करोड़ का मार्केट कैप है, 33, और PE 68 का, जो कि लास्ट क्वार्टर में रिजल्ट आया था उसको एक्स्ट्रापोलेट में करता हूँ तो 85 का PE है। इसका हाई लगा था 2,500 रुपया, ये भी है 1,650। मेरे हिसाब से ये बहुत जल्दी 300-400 रुपया हो जाएगा। वास्तव में ये कंपनी सिर्फ पाइप बनाती है और कुछ नहीं करती है, तो पाइप बनाने वाले को इतना वैल्यूएशन आप क्यों देते हो? फॉर व्हाट? 85 का PE, व्हाट नॉनसेंस इज दिस? So, having said this, I would request Sandeep Bhai to pick up the Sandeep Parekh to be a speaker if he can. I have sent the request. Kara bolo kuch.
Yeah, good evening, Sarji, and good evening, everyone else. No change in my opinion for the past few weeks. Continue to be non-bullish. Otherwise, people will get offended if I use the word bearish.
I mean, why?
So
No, just a moment. How do you care if somebody is offended?
Sir, I was just making a sarcastic remark.
Okay.
In humor, nothing, not seriously. So my stance continues to be bearish. So yeah, that's about it. We'll see what unfolds next week. This inflation number in
inflation,
yes, sir.
inflation in India is more than 15-16%. Okay.
Should be more than that. Inflation in my house is 25%.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't think of any single item that hasn't gone up by at least 10, 20, 30%. Everything is so expensive.
Hmm.
Everything is expensive. Food outside, it's just gone through the roof. My kids had a standard dinner from Domino's Pizza. I remember in pre-corona it used to be 432 rupees. Now same two medium pizzas, it cost me about $800. It's almost doubled. So demand is definitely, we are going to see demand destruction, and it should likely be visible in the results that come out next month. So I'm actually not planning to buy anything unless the market has a significant decline up to 40, below 40 or 12 levels. It could be a slow path down, but I will wait patiently. So
ultimately you want to buy.
Not now, sir.
Yeah, but you want to buy ultimately.
Ultimately, when they are reasonably valued, right? Why should I buy anything at overpriced price? मैं मॉल भी जाता हूँ. I look for items at discount.
Yeah.
Why will I not look for items at discount here, right?
Yeah.
So buying at correct price only we don't do in our life. We are always looking for discounts. Why should I buy shares at a premium, right? So yeah, I'm not a buyer right now. So
Okay. Abhishek खायर मत.
सर बस 1 मिनट सर, मैं बस बात करता हूँ, बस 1 मिनट.
डॉक्टर अमित.
यस सर. गुड इवनिंग सर. आवाज आ रही है?
आ रही.
ओके सर. व्यू में तो कोई चेंजेस नहीं है, मगर एक आज जो रिसेंट डेटा आया है इन्फ्लेशन का, उस पे थोड़ा व्यू रखना चाहता हूँ. फेड का ऑब्जेक्टिव है इन्फ्लेशन डाउन करना, और हम देखें तो मार्च में 8.5 था, अप्रैल में 8.3 था, तो माइल्ड डिक्लाइन था. तो मैं एक्सपेक्ट कर रहा होता इस बार भी शायद कुछ डिक्लाइन होगा, और इन बिटवीन दे आर रेज द रेट 0.25 एंड 50. तो आज का जो डेटा आया है दैट इज द हायर देन प्रीवियस वन आफ्टर दे आर रेज द 0.75 बेसिस पॉइंट. उसके बाद भी अगर ये नहीं मींस डिक्लाइन हो रहा, तो इट इज नॉट इनफ टू रेज 0.50 basis every month. That will be bring down drastically inflation. I am thinking that. And there is if we assume that Fed is totally influenced by the politician and it is not neutral agency, then next 5th month there is the midterm election, and how they can means bring the inflation reasonable rate, so that means their master will be satisfied. So with the 0.50 basis point, I don't think ये तो लगना है इसकी कोई इफेक्ट आ नहीं रही है. इट इज कॉम्प्लेक्स थिंग है, काफी डिपेंडेंट है, मगर जो दिख रहा है मैं एक कॉमन सेंस के हिसाब से देख रहा हूँ. तो अब मुझे लग रहा है ना कि 0.75 या 1% की बातें चल जाएगी. करेंगे नहीं करेंगे वो ठीक मुझे पता नहीं है, मगर वो टॉक चालू होगी. अगर वो होगी तो आई थिंक वॉलेटिलिटी बढ़ेगी, पैनिक ज्यादा रहेगा, और वैसे भी वैल्यूएशन ओवर है. अभी ये ग्रोथ और वैल्यूएशन की भी बातें चल रही है, तो कोई पॉजिटिव इतना है नहीं. मींस बुलिश साइड I means give the weight to 20% chance you can earn hardly 10%. On downside you could lose more than 50-60. We do not know how they do. कुछ पता ही नहीं कहाँ जाएगा, क्योंकि रीडिंग आएगा मंथली बेसिस पे, तो उसका टाइम फ्रीक्वेंसी भी बहुत रहता है, मींस ड्यूरेशन ज्यादा रहता है, तो कंक्लूजन नहीं होता. बीच में जो जो फेड आते हैं वो ऑलवेज कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट करते जाते हैं। एक दिन एक फेड बोलेगा ये करेंगे, दूसरा होगा, कुछ ऐसा कुछ कॉमन पॉलिसी दिख ही नहीं रही यहाँ पे। तो सब कंफ्यूजन, इन्वेस्टर सब, तो ये अनसर्टी एनवायरनमेंट में आई डोंट थिंक एनीथिंग कैन बी ग्रो स्मूथली। अदर थिंग इंडिया में तो अभी अगर ये फेड का भी हम भूल जाए तो हमारा जो मैक्सिमम इम्पैक्ट जो करेगा हमारा मींस इकोनॉमी को डैमेज, तो एक क्रूड है और एक डॉलर है। तो डॉलर भी आज ऑल टाइम हाई हो गया अपना करेंसी, तो डॉलर भी कूल डाउन नहीं हो रहा। क्रूड देख लो आप, हर जगह। आज एक आर्टिकल मैंने लोकल न्यूज़पेपर में पढ़ा, आई डोंट नो हाउ इट इज इम्पेक्टेड। तो रशिया ने बोल दिया है कि अब हम डिस्काउंट में नहीं दे सकते, हमारे पास क्रूड नहीं है। तो जो कंसर्न है वही है जो लॉन्ग टर्म और मीडियम टर्म में ज्यादा इफेक्ट करेंगे। और एक आपने सर जो बोला ना DII का, उसी में मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ। नो डाउट दे आर पंपिंग द सम मनी एंड ट्राई टू स्टेबलाइज द मार्केट, मगर उसकी एक लिमिट होगी। अगर वो मींस ऐसा बोलते हैं कि हम थोड़ा बहुत तो हम सेविंग ऐसे रखते हैं कि क्राइसिस में काम लगेगा। अगर क्राइसिस आ गया और उस टाइम आपके पास लिक्विडिटी नहीं होगी तो क्या सिचुएशन होगी, कौन संभालेगा ये सबको। तो इट इज एग्जॉस्टेड, एक्सट्रीम लेवल पे ये पंपिंग हुआ है। हिस्टोरिकल देखे इतनी सारी लिक्विडिटी नहीं आई है और गई भी नहीं है सामने। तो सब मींस एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन पे है, जो उसको बोलते हैं ना कि हम आउटलाइनर।
Okay.
तो दैट विल बी जस्ट ओनली वांट टू से।
Yeah. You said about DI.
यस सर।
आप मैच कर रहे हो, जितना भी बेचता है उतना ले लेते हो, बराबर है? अभी अभी खुद का तो संभाला नहीं जाता है। ये आपने LIC लिस्ट हुआ 950 का, वो 700 रुपया है। संभालो ना, वो तुम्हारा शेयर एक एक कहाँ जाके रुकेगा, आई डोंट नो, एंड आई डोंट वांट टू comment about it, but it's nonsense. Why are you buying? Why are you giving exit so easy to outsiders? I fail to understand. If your share LIC 950 का 700 रुपया होता है और ठिकाना नहीं है, डे लोग वो क्लोज पे आता है, तो your barometer should be LIC and not HDFC बैंक। उसको संभालो आप। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया का कंपनी है, 2.5% इक्विटी बिक्री हुआ, उसमें ये हालत है, उसको संभालो। HDFC बैंक को मत संभालो। बट वो nobody understands, nobody wants to do anything about anything. I know one thing, all this is going to this is going to end very badly. People will say I am bearish and this. अरे मेरे पास जितना शेयर होगा ना उतना ये स्पेस पे नहीं होगा, है मेरे पास शेयर, बट दैट्स अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी। मत करो, मत लो। या अभिषेक हिरामत।
हाँ सर, गुड इवनिंग। तो ये नतीजा जो बोल रहे थे बुलिश बुलिश है, ये है, वो सब निकाल के खिड़की में से फेंक दो। बुलिश बुलिश कुछ भी नहीं है यहाँ पे, सब घुसने वाला है। आज के दिन मोटा भाई का कितना मस्त ट्रैप हुआ था, अगर कोई देखेगा उसको प्राइस एक्शन में काफ़ी सारे हिंट्स हैं। वो whoever knows how to get those hints can use it and make money out of it, or you could just keep catching bottoms। पिछवाड़ा। तो हाँ, तो रिलायंस का जो था कल का हाई वाज 2802 समथिंग एंड टुडे इट ओपनड एट दैट प्राइस। सीधा ओपन इक्वल टू हाई मार के सीधा गंदा वाला घुसा है। एंड इफ यू जस्ट लुक एट द फ्रंट लाइन इंडाइसेस, आज जो तुम्हारे स्टॉक्स घुसे हुए हैं 3-4% या व्हाटएवर द क्वांटम इज, ऑल ऑफ देम आर हेवीवेट्स। जब हेवीवेट्स घुस रहे हैं पूरे के पूरे, तो बचाएगा कौन मार्केट को? एक दिन चलो 3-4 दिन से मोटा भाई चल रहा है, बचा लिया, क्या भी कर लिया, बट देन नाउ ऑनवर्ड्स वो भी गया। and as we speak अपना US market is again down 2.5%. बोले तो गैप डाउन खुलेगा मंडे को. अभी जो पकड़ेगा बॉटम तो पकड़ लेगा अपना बॉटम उसके बाद. तो बस वही है. एंड जो ये तो बस अपने फ्रंट लाइन की हो गई. ब्रॉडर मार्केट इज इन वेरी 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 टेरिबल शेप. तुमको कौन सा भी दिन लगे कि any given day you can definitely find 5 to 10 stocks which are going to fall by 5 to 6% minimum. तो तुमको वहाँ पे खतरनाक पैसा है. And that is where the trend keeps on going and people don't realize this कि वहाँ पे है पैसा बनाने के लिए. They just want to short the frontline stocks or do whatever and try to get fame. That is not how money is spent in the market. And हाँ, inflation हाँ. तो see, there's this one instance I would like to share with all of you. So there was this small Tibetan cafe which I visited in Dharamshala in McLeodganj. तो वो बंदा जहाँ पे आप सोचो कि let us say one starter is for 160 bucks. शहर में तो मिलता है नहीं पहली बात. तो वहाँ पे इवन दैट गाय स्पीकिंग ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन कि सर हमारे क्या बोलते हैं ऑल आर रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट इज गॉन अप, एवरीथिंग हैज गॉन अप लाइक क्रेजी. तो हमारे मार्जिन्स मेंटेन नहीं हो रहे. अभी इवन दिस मॉम एंड पॉप रन जस्ट वन रेस्टोरेंट रन बाय अ स्मॉल टिबेटन फैमिली व्हिच कंसिस्ट ऑफ 3 or 4 पीपल. तो वहाँ पे तक इम्पैक्ट पहुँच चुकी है. And even they are mentioning the term inflation specifically. It's not like महंगाई or whatever, but then वो लोग बता रहे हैं कि even they are aware of the term and people are still not ready to believe it कि inflation will take the market down. So this disbelief which is there in the market as to जब तक disbelief रहेगा ना market में तब तक मंदी होती रहेगी. That is what I would like to say.
Okay. Now, Fact Finder.
Hello, Sharji, how are you doing?
Very well.
Hi, everybody. So, I mean, as far as RBI is concerned, I thought they would go for a CRR hike as well, but they didn't. That means they are okay with the rupee probably depreciating a little bit. In terms of the banks, I think all the banks obviously have raised rates, but the important thing to keep in mind now is that if you look at the entire banking system, right, there is RBI data that is available that comes out every month. So the entire banking system, the term deposit rate average price is only 5%. Basically, it means that suppose I took a term deposit 6 years ago at 8%, and somebody else took a term deposit today and whatever rate, all the term deposits today, weighted average is only 5%, which means there are many people who have term deposits at 4% also. And, and if you think about it, RBI's rate itself is 5.15 now. Plus, if you include with the term deposits, the current account and savings account, the system-wide, rates are actually, something like 4.5%. So I think deposit rates are going to go up very fast. And they are already, stabilized, but they will go up fast. So it will be interesting to see if banks actually gain too much out of this entire, rate hike. Crude oil, there was one data point that I became quite bullish actually. I've been bullish on crude oil, but here is one interesting way of thinking about it actually. See, when we look at crude oil, we only look at crude oil saying, okay, it's gone up from $85 to $120. Actually, it's gone up a lot more than that because the refining margin has gone up a lot. So the actual effect we are seeing when we are consuming petrol and diesel is like we are consuming crude oil, assuming that your refining margin was normalized. Now, today refining margins for diesel are like $50. For petrol is probably $25, $30. But typically the refining margin is about $10. So if we were to say that eventually refining margins will remain constant at say $10, what would be the implied price of crude that we are experiencing today. And that crude price is 160, 170, 180 in that range, which means today that the world can actually sustain a price of 160, 170 without seeing demand destruction. Because most people are saying, okay, today it's $5 in the US. If it goes to 6, it'll really hurt consumption. But $5 is great because $5 effectively is like 160, 170 under a normalized refining margin environment. So I think that's one way of looking at it from a bullish point of view. Meanwhile, obviously, I don't know how many guys tracked, but Putin made some very strong remarks. He's got a very big plan in mind. So I don't know whether he's only going to stop at Ukraine. He's got bigger things in mind. So that's something to worry about. And in terms of, I was listening to an agri thing yesterday, spaces yesterday. It was a very good space. I tweeted about it. You should listen to the recording. Some really good experts out there. And while there's obviously been a drop in fertilizer demand, that's only because prices are high. But there is definitely people are already talking about an impact on food production, quite a bad one. So I think that impact you will see next year. The other interesting thing is there's a big question mark on once we see peak inflation, will it come down and then we will go back to a normalized low inflation environment? There was a very interesting tweet thread by this lady called Trin, Trinh, Ng, NG. And I had put her tweet as well and highlighted it. Superb summary of why inflation will remain sticky. She looked at it from a demand perspective and a supply perspective. The only thing that she missed out, and I totally agree with her, that inflation will remain high for longer. The only thing that I disagree with her, that she didn't add, is that she didn't consider the geopolitical aspect of the supply chains. And I'll give you an example. Hyundai announced a $10.5 billion investment in the US to manufacture cars. They could have manufactured in Korea. They could have manufactured in India, which are low cost. US said you need to manufacture it in the US, which is high cost. Essentially, all companies, even EV batteries, US is saying manufacture in the US itself. Right? So I think we are moving to a world where nearshore manufacturing will increase dramatically, which means that inflation is going to remain higher for longer. So a lot of people think that Fed will cut rates and come down back to over a period of time. I don't think so. I think we're going to see very high inflation for a long time now. Yeah, I mean, I'll just stop there. I can't talk too much.
No, I will take you again after some time. Thank you. Dark Trader.
Good evening, Uncle.
Good evening. Good evening.
So, things are actually bad, and I want to say that people might want melt up or a blow off top or bull run, but the Federal Reserve doesn't want that to happen, and only one will win. So, I hope people learn sooner than later instead of buying the dip every time and not trying to catch a falling knife. And things are bad in the Middle East as well. And I'm keeping eyes on Israel and Iran. So if that flares up, that escalates, then we'll see probably crude to be a doubler from here itself if it escalates. And then we all know what will happen. So that's it from my side, sir.
Some interesting facts about Russia. its GDP is 60% of India. Its population is 15 crores. And see the ruckus he has created. That's called power. And where are we? Receiving end of everybody. Russian population is 15 crores, believe it or not. Russian GDP is 60% of India, believe it or not. That's it. A.D. Srinivasan, please.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Hope I'm
Yes.
audible, Sharad bhai.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'll come at it the consumer side, sir. So just a
Yeah.
reminder to everybody. I gave the example last time. Do not panic. HDFC Bank is doing fine. But imagine अगर HDFC Bank का net NPA 10% होता. I mean, there should have been headlines and all that. So the consumer is broken in India. There's a survey called AC Nielsen. It's a global company, well-tested formula over like 60 years. 20 FMCG companies beat them up every month saying तुम्हारा data ठीक नहीं है, 54 नहीं, 58 नहीं, ठीक करो. So it's very robust in capturing the overall swing. So total volumes of FMCG, which is shampoo, sabun, everything basically, has declined not just in October, November, December at an all India level, also in Jan, Feb, March. And the Jan, Feb, March decline, I looked for silver lining, there was none. It has declined, and volume decline is a big deal. As just a share, maybe the if the volumes decline and price action is bad, then this like something is fishy. So similarly, revenue may look like it's going up for the FMCG crowd, but the volumes are going down. It's very bad news. The urban declined, rural declined, north, east, west, south zones declined, big towns declined, small towns declined. मतलब कहीं every category declined. Personal care, food and staples. So this basically means लोगों के पास मतलब चावल खरीदने के लिए कम पैसा है, कम शैम्पू खरीद रहा है, कम बैंडेड खरीद रहा है. Like it's a big deal. I've done a 20-year FMCG career. It has not happened in 20 years. It is like as big a deal as HDFC Bank having a 10% net NPA, whatever a shocking number would be. The my take on the domestic flows, शरद भाई जो आप बोल रहे थे कि एक तो this EPFO and all जो literally extortion है क्योंकि लोगों के पास choice नहीं है. But the discretionary part, there are broadly three components. One is the venture capital funded companies who who are paying their employees, and the employees feel the shares of their startups are risky, and they're right. So they are investing some of their salaries, and they have new age and thinking. They love equity as a concept, and they're not really into real estate so much. So they're investing SIP की तरह वो डाल रहे हैं पैसा. Now the outlook for the industry this year, next 12 months, 18 to 20 billion dollars of funding is required to keep this whole party going. 101 unicorns and ye sab tamasha. 3 to 4 billion is available. So the bloodbath that is going to be that's unfolding now is unimaginable, and it's always under projected from the news. अभी जो भी funding आ रहा है वो पैसे exits के लिए आ रहा है. So you saw today Cred raise. They wanted to raise $500 million. They were able to raise 80 million. And they're very, very well regarded in this VC space. They have all the brand names and all that in their investors. एंड ये 80 मिलियन मैं गारंटी देता हूँ आपको, ये मेनली एग्जिट्स के लिए जाएगा. जो अर्ली इन्वेस्टर्स, एंजल्स, अर्ली फंड्स था, वो सब अपना एग्जिट्स लेके पैसा बाहर जाएगा. So there's a lot of firing going on. So number one source of SIP which comes into DIIs or SBI ETF and all that is going to collapse very soon. The number two source is the regular salaried employee जिसका बत्ती लग रहा है बिकॉज उसके पास शैम्पू टिकिया खरीदने के पैसे कम पड़ रहे हैं. He is going to sort of fold very soon. especially if there's a minor correction, 4-5% market गिर गया एक दो हफ्ते में, Fed flow, oil, Putin does something else. Any of these things will make him. They'll all panic at the same time. The third factor which people are not watching is the IT industry. Yes, US is entering a recession. Yes, they're going to cut IT spend. So सब spends काटेगा. IT पे भी impact आएगा. And IT employees who normally are a good base of these ETFs. So my friends tell me they're worried about SIP numbers going down, which will then trigger, I feel, what I believe now firmly. It is the mother of 2008. We are in an extreme environment, especially India, and narrative is stretched way beyond reality. Mr. Ramdev Agarwal was on TV. He's very well respected, or Motilal Oswal, and he said in passing, but even he had to say it. India is trading at 22 PE. ये China, Vietnam, Korea, who for foreigners look kind of the same, they're trading at 10, 11, 12. So जो 20-15% allocation है इंडिया के लिए, it is now at 30%. So FIIs will continue selling. We can only pray they don't do basket selling and dumping. But ये FII selling अगले एक साल तक बंद नहीं होगा until our market is half. So I feel there is nothing to buy. I mean, there may be things to buy for a very long term, but in a 2-year, 3-year sense, it is only sell. And we are entering the mother of bear market because unlike 2008, unlike 2001, this time the Indian economy and the Indian consumer is F. And ये जो top 10 crore party कर रहा है, जो which is creating a lot of narrative flow, वो भी अभी because of the VC problems, startup funding problems, the IT employees getting hammered soon, that also I feel will go down. And FIIs, foreign companies, contrary to all the news, continue to walk away from India. आज का आप सबने news देखा होगा, Amazon, which we all know is multi-trillion-dollar market cap, walked away from a peanuts $7 billion IPL bidding war, which is going to start soon, which is roughly 1.4 billion per year into 5 years, something like that, or divided by 7 years, जो भी वो deal होता है. तो लोगों को पैसा नहीं डालना है इंडिया में, वो सब अपना चड्डी पकड़ के they are going to watch out for US and Europe. Fact Find also, I think, gave some interesting data. They're all now putting money back in their own countries. So this time is different, as in this time is going to be super nasty. And Indian economy is probably the first global bear market where the Indian economy and the Indian consumer is in a very, very, has entered a depression. Recession is a very mild word. वो होता रहता है. This is now a 2-year, 5-year depression until we find way to give people jobs, जो दिख नहीं रहा है from a government and economic policy making point of view. Sorry, I mean, this is the truth. I'm not trying to, uh, dishearten people. I think it's an excellent time to sell. Every फालतू कंपनी आपके पोर्टफोलियो में है, आप भेज दो. क्वालिटी वाला आप रख रहे हो लॉन्ग टर्म, ऑफ कोर्स दैट्स ऑलवेज अ गुड.
Yeah, fact finder. You want to?
I want to just on the tech bit, I slightly disagree with you. On I know the US is getting through a recession, but let's go back to the history of the last 15-20 years, which is essentially how old our Indian IT services industry is, and you've almost, I think, except for GFC, and we are not expecting the US to go through a GFC, right? So this is a kind of a recession, which is just a technical recession, and the way tech spend is happening is essentially a catch up by corporates because of they've not spent on their data, stuff like that, right? Which is why I think that they might be, if you go at least the last 8 to 10 years, if you go through global IT spend, it is probably not ever declined. And so from my point of view, you might have a recession in the US, but that not necessarily means that you have a decline in IT spend. And so while I agree completely with you on the startup side, I think there is going to be a lot of pain but just to put numbers, there was a very interesting report published by the Ken, but this is a year and a half ago, but I think still very relevant. They did a calculation of the best funded 150 startups in India, I think above $100 million of valuation, and they counted how many engineers are there, and they came out with a figure of only 10,000 engineers. Now, let's say that number is small and it's 40,000 engineers, right, for the entire startup space. I don't think it's that much, but let's hypothetically say it is true. 40,000 engineers and the entire IT services industry in India is 5.5 million people, and they're adding about 400,000 people this year. So that 40,000 is actually a very, very small number in the scheme of things. So I don't think IT will get impacted as much. I'm not as bearish. I mean,
Okay,
No,
just a
no,
quick.
no.
Okay,
Just
okay, sir. Okay.
Fact Finder, what ED said was a general statement, like a lay person. But another thing is the P ratios over here of our so-called tech companies is haywire. 32, 33. Accenture is at forward 27. So what are we talking of? Why this valuation? Yeah, ED.
हाँ सर, क्विक वन. एक्चुअली मैं कंज्यूमर एंड तनख्वाह के फोकस पे था. 30% of IT spend is kachra. It is crypto, Web3, all this nonsense will disappear. The other thing is Sequoia and a couple of the other fancy funds, they just made a presentation maybe 2 months back where they have claimed, and I know thoda kafi ek balti namak leke jana chahiye, but they have claimed close to 5 lakh as the tech kind of employee. Sorry, 3 lakh as a tech employment.
You're
What
talking
this
about the total gig employees is 3 lakhs, you're right. But
नहीं उसमें tech. So but the main point being, these guys drove up the salaries. Actually, that was the point I wanted to make. Saying ये 10 लाख का engineer 20 लाख हो गया, 20 लाख का 25 लाख हो गया. When they are getting fired and all, there's a lot of good talent. They will ratchet down the salaries back into the Infosys and TCSs of the world, which will depress the SIP mood of this base. मैं वो एंगल से बोला था कि ये कंज्यूमर के पास पैसा नहीं रहेगा वो मार्केट में पैसा ठोकने के लिए.
I see your point. Yes.
And on IT spend and all, Fact Finder, you're probably right. I ain't getting on the other side of your data.
You made a general statement, yaar. We are with you.
तो कंज्यूमर के पास पैसा कम रहेगा, वो मार्केट में डालेगा नहीं. ये FII बेचता रहेगा, तो ब्लड बाथ, सिंपली पुट.
नहीं, ये अभी भी ये FII के पास में 43 लाख करोड़ का माल है.
हाँ.
देखो वो कितना बेच पाता है. ओके. और ट्रेडिंग DW.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Sir, I'll start with the Brent. My target for
वो last time भी आप बोल दिया Brent का.
Okay, sir. For the RBI, in the last policy, it has not hiked the CRR rate, but in the next policy, whenever it is coming, they are highly probably likely they are hiking the CRR rate.
अरे वो नहीं वो मीटिंग कभी है दूसरा?
Sir, it is. I'll check the date, sir. Maybe in 1 or 2 months, sir.
हाँ, तो 2 महीने का बाद क्या करने का है? अभी का बोलो ना, कुछ है तो बोलो. Interesting.
अभी तो सर अभी का this is you were talking about the PE. My sir question is to you. Some people say that stock is running, PE is not high. It is the PE expansion. Sir, can you please throw some light on the PE expansion thing if you can? What is it?
What PE expansion?
PE expansion term is being used कि किसी स्टॉक की PE बहुत हाई है, तो वी से कि PE बहुत हाई है, राइट? कि क्यों लेना इसको, राइट?
नहीं, आपका
बट द
नहीं, ये आपका आवाज बराबर नहीं आ रहा है।
अभी आ रहा है सर?
नहीं नहीं,
हेलो
हाँ बोलो।
सर, किसी स्टॉक का पीई बहुत हाई है एग्जांपल, तो हम
हाँ।
लोग बोलते हैं कि पीई हाई है, इसको नहीं लेना, राइट? शॉर्ट नहीं करना तो लेना नहीं है। बट एक टर्म है पीई एक्सपेंशन, जो
अरे भाई,
परपेचुअल बुल्स हैं वो लोग
अरे
बोलते हैं,
वो
तो
सब
ये क्या
स्टोरी
है?
है, वो सब स्टोरी है ना। बुल मार्केट में चलता है, बेयर मार्केट में नहीं चलता है।
ओके सर, एंड माय सर लास्ट पॉइंट इज, ये जो बाय ऑन डिप्स का है जो प्रोपोगंडा, इट वाज वर्किंग बिकॉज ये रेट हाइक साइकिल या ये क्यूई को बंद करना, ये अभी
सर डॉक्टर अशोक शर्मा है अभी आज तक से हमारे साथ।
नमस्कार डॉक्टर अशोक, आइए कुछ बताइए। वो तेजी का बात थोड़ा कम रखना। हेलो डॉक्टर अशोक,
प्लीज अनम्यूट
yourself. Yeah. Oh, again you are muted. Unmute. Unmute.
Yeah, he's unmuted.
Yeah. Oh, again is muted. Khair, PD.
Good evening, Saurabh bhai. I have been reading and following you since the days of ADAG, so it is a privilege to talk here. I say good evening to everybody also. I am basically a pharma distributor and I cater to the likes of Pharmacy, 1MG, NetMeds, the modern e-pharmacies. In continuation of what you are saying about the economy, Sharad bhai, and what other speakers have also said, being from, in the supply chain side of things for new age businesses, सर पिछले 40 दिन से if I did, for example, अगर मैंने last year मेरा revenue top line was about, if just out of the had 100 crores था, this year if I do 70, I will count myself lucky. जो 1.5 महीने से ये लोग का, as I said again, this is a reflection of the consumer side of things. What Mr. Srinivasan was saying, अगर मेरे को 1.5 महीने से इनका परचेज ऑर्डर वैल्यूज इज लेस देन 50% ऑफ रेगुलर लिस्टिंग, which means I am not buying FMCG for my stock, which is basically a continuation of what everybody, your views also. As an economy, we are screwed badly. The consumer is not buying these new age businesses. It's very well Tata bought 1MG. Mr. Nilotani is one of the investors in Farm Easy. Reliance has bought NetMeds. But इवन अपोलो 24/7, ये सारे के सारे का सर जो हमारे को ये रहता था कि एवरी मंथ मेरे को मालूम है मैं डाबर का इतना माल लूंगा, मैं हिंदुस्तान यूनिलीवर का इतना माल लूंगा, पिछले 1.5 महीने से मेरे को पीओ का वैल्यू 50% से कम है, and now I am selling at a discount. The pressure this puts on companies का revenue, and as somebody else was saying from the FMCG field, I want to comment on that. उनके values might have dipped 9%, but the volumes have been murdered.
I just want to ask you one question, PD. Can you again briefly explain your background? What exactly do you do?
I am on the vendor panels of Farm Easy, 1MG, NetMeds, and Apollo 24/7.
Okay, so what happens? They give you an order. How does it work?
Let's take for example 1MG has 27 godowns across India. Okay, all their godowns will raise me a stock request once they go below a certain threshold, because they have to keep 40 days ka inventory, okay, on a bare minimum. So I also am in the cycle. I know how much Dabur I will need next month, how much Imami I will need next month, how much One Touch diabetic strips I will need next month, and so on and so forth. Now, when there, for the past 1.5 months, I have seen on a regular basis, like my purchase order values that I am receiving from these people, okay, have dropped drastically. They are down 35 to 40% on an average.
When you say first 1.5 months, you're talking about this financial year.
Yes, this financial year.
And this is in value terms.
This is in value terms, and volumes have been, I don't even want to talk about volumes. They are still buying the 1,000 rupee products to stock. The 50 rupee, 80 rupee, 90 rupee products, 200 rupee products, they don't want to keep.
Sir, Prince Saab,
हाँ,
you
बोलो ना
tell
साहब.
me one thing.
हाँ.
Do you foresee any pickup in business?
नहीं सर, मैंने तो जितना भी पेमेंट आ रहा है ना, मैंने तो बैंक का लोन रिटर्न करना शुरू कर दिया है. मेरा ओडी भी बंद कर दूंगा.
अच्छा.
अगर पिकअप हो गया सर, तो नए तरीके से दबा के धंधा करेंगे ना. लेकिन मेरे को अगर आगे विजिबिलिटी नहीं है 3 महीने में क्या होने वाला है, और मेडिसिन का धंधा है, आई विल बी एक्सपोजिंग माई सेल्फ टू ह्यूज रिस्क इफ आई एज फार एज एक्सपायरी डेट्स आर आल्सो कंसर्न ना. मैं काल के लिए स्टॉक करूं. पहले मैं 6 महीने का स्टॉक करता था. मेरे पास 4 कस्टमर है, 4 के 4 ब्रांडेड कस्टमर्स है. अभी मैं 15 दिन का स्टॉक पे काम करेगा ना.
अच्छा, दोबारा पूछता हूँ. ये 2 महीना तो हो गया, एक क्वार्टर में. हाँ. तो अगला 4 महीने में विजिबिलिटी क्या दिखता है आपको?
सर, मैं अकेला बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, पूरा दवा बाजार की बात कर रहा हूँ. मैं वर्षों से मेरे बाप दादा का यही
नहीं सर मैं समझ गया, लेकिन
बैंड बजी हुई है सबकी, विजिबिलिटी नहीं है.
हाँ.
आज ही बात कर रहा था एक जन के नेटमेट्स के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट से बात कर रहा था. मैं बोला तुम्हारा परचेज ऑर्डर नहीं है. बोलता है सर हम लोग बेयर मिनिमम पे आ गए हैं. वी यूज्ड टू स्टॉक 40 डेज, नाउ वी विल स्टॉक 20 डेज, और वही स्टॉक करेंगे जो फास्ट मूविंग है और मार्जिन बेस्ड है. बाकी का वी विल ऑल शिफ्ट टू डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर बेस्ड मार्केट प्लेस मॉडल पे वो लोग शिफ्ट कर देंगे. And to standard disclaimer, sir, I am short Dabur and I will continue to stay short Dabur. मेरे को वॉल्यूम्स का उन लोग की बैंड बेचने वाली है ये क्वार्टर.
सर डाबर शॉर्ट है आप.
हाँ, 100%.
पर हिलता नहीं है यार वो.
भले नहीं हिले सर, रिजल्ट जब भी खराब आएगा ना.
एक काम करो, आप डीएम मेरे को कर देना. हाँ. और एक बात आप मेरे को दोबारा बताओ. ये 4 महीना, अगला 4 महीने में विजिबिलिटी क्या लगता है?
विजिबिलिटी कुछ नहीं है. वी हैव सर, मैं आपको डीएम में मेल्स भेजूंगा बड़ी कंपनी का. प्लीज डू नॉट स्टॉक इन एंटिसिपेशन ऑफ आवर पीओस विच वाज द केस फॉर द पास्ट 3 years.
ओके. और ये जो अखबार में आता है कि फार्मास्यूटिकल सेल्स आर डाउन, तो इज इट ट्रू?
सर अखबार में कितना आया? 9% आया ना.
हाँ.
सर अगर मेरा सेल पिछले 3 महीने में 30% डाउन है मंथ टू मंथ.
और कितना टका?
30% मंथ टू मंथ डाउन है. मेरा जो अप्रैल और मई 2021 का जो सेल्स था और अप्रैल और मई 2022 का सेल है सर 30% डाउन है.
नहीं, वो कोरोना की वजह से हो सकता है.
सर मैं कोरोना कोविड आइटम्स की बात ही नहीं कर रहा हूँ. वो क्या था सर, वो चांस पे डांस था. आई कैन नॉट काउंट इट एज रेगुलर बिजनेस ना सर.
Our fact finder, anything?
I want to ask you a question. Do you think that this fall from demand from all these e-commerce guys like 1mg,
Palm Easy.
Palm Easy and all of that, because they have reduced the promotion? So, and hence, because
They reduced promotion.
if you give huge discounts, or they've reduced it. Is that true or not? And why the
That
business?
is one of the reasons. Now I will extrapolate what you are saying to what Mr. Srinivasan was saying. All these guys,
Hello?
as far as I know, were working on venture capital funding. So what was happening? They were pumping huge discounts and they were dumping stock on the consumer, at the end consumer. Okay. तो इसके लिए उन लोग का गोडाउन्स भी पैक रहता था माल से. अभी वो स्पेंड कम हो गया है फॉर रीजंस नाउ व्हिच मिस्टर श्रीनिवासन हैज brought to light. Okay, that they are in a cash crunch on the free money side, which is why they are stocking less, and stocking less because their sales are less, and their sales are less because their marketing expenses have gone down.
Got it. And they have to do an IPO as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Farmies is in line for an IPO.
वो नहीं होगा.
Apparently Mr. Aditya Puri is on board.
नहीं, वो ठीक है, आदित्य पूरी है, पर इशू नहीं होगा, तकलीफ है.
ये मार्केट में लाएगा तो मर जाएगा वो.
थैंक यू. ओके पीडी भाई, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने हमारी आंखें.
थैंक यू शरद भाई, टाइम आई को डीएम करो से.
हाँ, थैंक यू. जतिन भाई. जतिन भाई बोलो.
Hello.
Hello. बोलो.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, yeah. So this is just to what the previous speaker said, and I even in your last space you had asked me this question. So actually, last month in April, what is the reported is that the domestic industry shrunk by about 9%. This month, that is for the month of May, that is the previous month numbers reported now. The shrinkage is about another 6%. But if you, a lot of it is because, as you mentioned, is because of the COVID base as well, because certain categories saw a huge bump up. But the point is that historically, and this is not something a lot of financial analysts will acknowledge or accept, there is a certain elasticity of income with relate to economic downturn, inflation, etc. There is a certain elasticity of farmer demand. Sorry. And I think we are going to see, as this normalizes, the COVID base goes away, you're going to see the second half of the year, the domestic industry continue to struggle a lot. This has happened in the past also during very weak GDP growth environments or very high inflation environments where incomes have got hit, etc. I suspect that right now, because of this noise, because of the COVID base, we are not able to figure actually where the real demand is sitting. But in the second half, a lot of things will become apparent as the base normalizes.
Okay. Anything else you would like to talk?
No, that's it. Nothing on.
Jatin, can I ask you a question?
Sure, SK. Sure.
Hello. Yeah. Ask you about. Do you think because people took precautions due to COVID, people wear masks, people wear more.
Sorry, your voice is breaking. Hello, fact finder, your voice is breaking.
Yeah. People took precaution. They wore masks. They were more hygienic, and so people obviously caught lesser number of diseases. Do you think that is the reason why there is this depression in pharmaceutical demand?
Oh no, actually, no. I have analyzed. I've looked at the segment-wise numbers for the month of April 22 and the segment-wise numbers. That is the therapy segment-wise numbers for May 22. Okay. So.
Can you guys?
चलो और ट्रेडिंग DW बोलो।
Yes sir, my last point was this only कि 2008 से अभी तक Fed was pumping in the money, right? तो जब भी मार्केट में कुछ होता था तो बाय ऑन डिप्स चल रहा था, एंड टू द पीपल आई जस्ट वांट टू से दैट अभी वो मनी सक्शन मोड में है, तो शायद बाय ऑन डिप्स इन हर सेक्टर पे या इंडिविजुअल स्टॉक्स पे ना चले, जब बिल्कुल ना चले, जब उतना ना चले। तो जो प्रोपेगेंडास है कि मार्केट ऊपर ही जाएगा, निफ्टी चाहे फिर से ऊपर चला जाए, जो स्टॉक इतनी सीवियर फॉल में बिल्कुल दोज हु हैव क्रैश्ड डाउन, मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम वो नहीं चलते नेक्स्ट साइकिल में। जब जब वो लॉस भी पूरा नहीं कर पाते, तो आप कोई एवरेज कर रहा है या कुछ कर रहा है तो वो किसी के बोलने पे ना करे, ये जो ट्विटर पे सब चल रहा है। तो बस सर मुझे यही ऐड ऑन करना था, बाकी तो हो गया था। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू। कुमार भाई बोलो।
गुड इवनिंग सर, गुड इवनिंग एवरीबॉडी।
गुड इवनिंग सर।
उम्मीद करता हूँ शरद सर की तबीयत अच्छी है आज।
हाँ।
आई जस्ट वांटेड टू कैरी ऑन विद द पॉइंट जो आपने बताई पहले एस्ट्रॉल पाइप्स की, कि पाइप बनाता है, अरे उससे अच्छा तो किसान मोल्डिंग है, 300 करोड़ का साल में टर्नओवर करता है, उसका भाव है बेचारे का 12 रुपया। तो इसका भाव इतना महंगा क्यों? 2500 मार के 1600 पे आया है, ये तो 300 से भी कम जाएगा सर, इतना ये तो है। एंड एवरी टाइम मार्केट हैज होप्स ओनली ऑन 2 स्टॉक्स, रिलायंस एंड HDFC, कि भाई इनको चलाओ, बाजार पूरी ऊपर जाएगी, बाकी सबको धो डालो। लेकिन वी आल्सो हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जो चीज जितनी जल्दी ऊपर जाती है वो वैसे भी नीचे ही आएगी, और आप वो देख रहे हैं गए 2 दिन में क्या हुआ है रिलायंस एंड HDFC के साथ। सर एक डाउट था जो आपसे थोड़ा क्लैरिफाई करना था कि 1.5 महीने से ये DIIs इतनी मस्ती लगा बैठे हैं, इनको सेफ एग्जिट दे रहे हैं, FIIs को हर भाव पे खरीदते जा रहे हैं, इनके मार्क टू मार्केट लॉसेस कितने होते होंगे फिक्स्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के ऊपर जो डिलीवरीज ले रहे हैं?
नहीं, उनको मार्क टू मार्केट लगता नहीं है, क्योंकि वो गिनते ही नहीं है, वो परचेज प्राइस पकड़ के ही बैठते हैं, मार्केट प्राइस नहीं देखते हैं।
हाँ, इसीलिए सर
आप कोई भी इंस्टीट्यूशन में, मतलब गवर्नमेंट का, कि आपने एक शेयर लिया ये 100 रुपीज में, आप 90 रुपये में बेच नहीं सकते हो, आपको 101 में ही बेचना पड़ेगा। तो ऐसा खेल है
सर। इसी वजह से ही एम्बेडेड वैल्यू जो बोल रहे थे LIC का 5 लाख करोड़ है, वो नीचे आ गया है और शेयर को तोड़ के हाथ में दे दिया है। ये तो 200-250 रुपए का शेयर है लगा।
सर मैं क्या बोलता हूँ, नहीं, एक मिनट सुनिए, एम्बेडेड वैल्यू
LIC
5 लाख है, ओके, सपोज 5 लाख है, वो रियलाइजेबल नहीं है।
ओहो,
वैल्यू ये सिर्फ इक्विटी में
ऑन पेपर।
यस, इक्विटी मार्केट्स आपके पास में 1000 शेयर है, 10,000 शेयर है, वांदा नहीं है। जब परसेंटेज में होल्डिंग होती है ना, तो मैं 1984 में एक फर्म में काम करता था, परसेंटेज में होल्डिंग हुआ करता था, वो 40% हेयर कट मारते, समझे?
राइट सर।
तो जैसे अभी टाटा स्टील का इतना सारा शेयर है, कहाँ पर, वेयर इज द एग्जिट?
नो एग्जिट।
एंड इक्विटी मार्केट्स आर ओनली ऑन मार्जिनल प्राइसिंग। आज ये बंद आया तो ये प्राइस है, अभी 100 शेयर का भी प्राइस आया, वो करोड़ों शेयर का वैल्यूएशन उसके बेसिस पे होता है। You get my point?
Right. I got it, sir.
सो ये सब ठीक है जब तक चलता है और चलता ही रहेगा।
4 दिन की चांदनी है, फिर अंधेरी
नहीं
रात।
नहीं 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 चलेगा, इंडिया में सब चलेगा, मंदी भी आएगा, बाद में तेजी भी बहुत बड़ा आएगा, चलता रहेगा। बेसिक है, यू एंजॉय योर लाइफ, दैट्स इट।
राइट सर, थैंक यू सर,
और
थैंक यू।
कुछ
नहीं सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
ओके, हाँ नीलेश भाई।
નમસ્કાર શરદભાઈ, કેમ છો?
બસ મજામાં ભાઈ।
बस इन्फ्लेशन 8.6 आया है, तो अभी अपने को क्या करना चाहिए मंडे को, ट्यूसडे को, वेडनेसडे को?
अभी इतने नीचे में तो बेच के मतलब नहीं है ना।
हाँ, वही शंका का विषय वही है कि क्या करेंगे।
नहीं कुछ नहीं।
तो बाउंस का राह देखे ना सर।
हाँ बाउंस।
ओके, थैंक
यू। Yeah, DGRS.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, Sharat sir. How are you?
Fine.
So finally, weekend is here, and all I can say is that those who are still bullish in the market, please prepare yourself for a roller coaster ride coming this Monday. And US inflation numbers were out today, and they are at the highest level since 1981. So in the last 4 decades, US has not experienced this kind of inflation. And I see that the Fed is only going to keep tightening rates now from here on. So we can easily expect 4 to 5 more rate hikes this year itself. And as we all know that when the US sneezes, the world markets all catch a cold. So India also will face a major sell-off. And coming to specific sectors, let's start with steel. So the numbers of China's steel exports came out. Last month they were up 55%. So they have started exports again of metals. So this will be a big negative for Indian steel companies. And our dear government, as everyone knows, have gone out of the way to screw the steel companies because they have disallowed exports. So metals in general and steel in particular, stocks will sell off like JSW, JSPL, etc. And we have already seen some of that sell-off has started. Next is IT. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but valuations are completely out of whack, especially for the mid-cap IT companies. Maybe the larger companies, they may sustain this valuation, or maybe they'll go up, down. But at least the mid-cap IT companies, they will definitely sell off. There are still companies like trading at steep valuations, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times. Stocks like Persistent, Coforge, all of those. So those are a definite short. And lastly, I was studying this company. I'll take the name at the end. But there's a company in India, market cap is 2.3 lakh crore. Last year, net profit was only 4,000 crore and PE is 61. And the company I'm talking about is Maruti. And this is a company that has no definite plan of EV yet. They're losing market share every quarter. And so it's looking like a sure short. In US, you're getting Ford Motors available at 4.8 PE. Why the hell would anyone pay 61 PE for Maruti? I mean, it's absurd. So I'm not telling anyone to go long or go short on the stock. It's just I'm using it as an example. And similarly, like this Maruti, there are many overvalued stocks. So in general, my conclusion is that fundamentally, at least, there doesn't seem to be anything positive in the market. I'm not that great with technicals, so maybe a technical bounce may come. But I still feel we are on in a sell-on rise market. And especially these high PE stocks, mid-cap IT, etc. Maruti, I just gave an example. I think they're a good shorting opportunity. So that's all. Thank you.
Dow Jones, according to me, or today it will end like 1,500 points or something or more.
Very possible, sir.
Yeah. Yes, Samarth, you wanted to say something?
हाँ सर, just one update regarding HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank. Actually, the focus of all the banks, जो भी banks अभी हैं, तो current account, savings account plus third party products, insurance and mutual fund होता है. अभी ये दोनों बैंक ने कासा डिपॉजिट्स बढ़ाने के लिए प्रेशर करा है सभी एम्प्लॉइज को. everyone here and there are just running after current account and savings account only. They have been said that by the top management कि आपको यही करना है, insurance बेचना नहीं है अभी. You will be getting lesser calls from HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank regarding insurance. Only current account and savings account. I feel there is much more of NPAs right now which will be coming up, plus the HDFC Limited और HDFC Bank का जो merger के हिसाब से cost of funds ऊपर जाएगा, तो they are diluting that funding percentage on the downside. तो ये एक issue है सर. तो अभी यही चल रहा है. तो ये अगर इंश्योरेंस एज सच ओवरऑल प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी में अराउंड 25% कंट्रीब्यूट करता है, तो वो बैंक्स में कोई भी HDFC लो, कोटक लो, 25% ऑफ द टोटल रेवेन्यू कम्स फ्रॉम द थर्ड पार्टी बिजनेस. तो दिस विल बी ऑन द डाउन साइड एज सच फॉर दिस क्वार्टर. तो उसमें ओवरऑल ये जब रिजल्ट आएगा तो ये भी इसके साथ फर्क आएगा उसमें. या सर
देखो, आप ये सब देखते हो, आई बैंक, HDFC बैंक वगैरह, एक्सिस बैंक, उसका कंपैरिजन बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका से करो, वेल्स फार्गो से करो, उसका बुक वैल्यू 0.67 टाइम्स बुक चलता है. यहाँ पे ये 4, 2, 3 चलता है. तो मेरे हिसाब से 0.7 या one time book is the correct price to buy these banks. Yeah.
सर वो वन टाइम ही था, वन टाइम ही बुक वैल्यू था सर. प्राइस पहले HDFC was quoting at 200 rupees, 100 rupees ना सर. मैंने एक्सिस बैंक को, इंडसइंड बैंक was at 35 rupees when I started the trading.
अरे ऐसा नहीं, बहुत टाइम हो गया, बहुत साल हो गया. या फैक्ट फाइंडर.
I just wanted to say that to DGRS that compare Maruti to Ford is not a proper comparison. You need to look at ROEs. And if you look at Maruti today, it does only a small part of its manufacturing. A large part of its manufacturing or incremental manufacturing is being done by Suzuki. So Maruti is actually just a marketing company, and in some sort of sense, a consumer. People can argue it's a consumer company. So then you look at it as what is the ROEs of Maruti if you remove the cash, which is very high. It is unrealistically very high. And if only nearest comparison that comes to Maruti is actually Kia.
No. Fact finder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ROE of Maruti, I'm checking current ROE is 7.2%. Okay. And return on capital employed, ROCE, is 8.87. And if you see, I've been following this stock for quite a long time. And last 4 quarters, they've been losing market share. Okay. And I can understand a high PE if the sales growth is good. But if you look at the compounded sales growth figures, for the last 10 years, they've averaged a sales growth of just 9%. And if you take the last 5 years, it's just been 5%. Right? And last 3 years is just 1%. So in the last 3 years, trailing 3 years, with a 1% sales growth and return on capital of 7 to 8%, you can't tell me that Maruti deserves a PE of 61. And previously, I agree, they had a very good distribution system. They were making cars which were cheap, so the middle class used to love it. All of that is great. But as the world pivots to EVs, you look at Tata Motors, the entire re-rating in Tata Motors. I was long on Tata Motors, now I'm not. But last year, everyone made so much money on Tata Motors because they had an EV story, they had an EV push. Maruti has made no advancement in EV. And you can't justify a PE of 61 when you have a sales growth of 1% in the last 3 years and a return on equity of just 7%. So how are you saying the ROE is high? The ROE used to be high historically, you're correct. It's dropped significantly.
Okay, we can go into a very long discussion. I totally agree with whatever you say. You're looking at historical numbers. If you look at forward numbers and you remove the cash on their books, because almost 45 to 50% of their earnings is cash. So you need to remove that. Their ROEs on a sustainable basis have, for just the car business, X of the cash, is about 30%. which is similar to what, and obviously on a longer term basis, it will go down lower on different cycles. I agree with whatever you're saying, right? In terms of the last 5-year growth, 7-year growth, because the car industry in India has not grown for 5 years, right? And competition, and he's lost market share. I totally agree with whatever you're saying.
No,
But
just a moment. This ROE, if cash element is removed, it will be higher or lower?
see, what we're looking at is looking at the company in a very bad year. We cannot look at the company in a bad year and forecast. Businesses are valued on future earnings, right?
No. I agree with that. I am only inquiring
Yeah,
if
if you remove the cash, then you look at the ROIC. The ROIC will be good. It has been,
ROIC, but ROE will be bad.
yeah, because there is cash.
Yeah, so instead of ROE being 30, ROE will be less.
Yeah, because of excess cash. You're right.
Yeah. So, see,
I'm just saying the best argument, the best example would actually look at Kia, where it has similar margins, it has similar ROEs, and it has as good a product profile, and it has EVs, and still it is at 6 to 7 times earnings versus a Maruti, which is at whatever times earnings.
And boss, fact finder, the net profit of Maruti this year was 4,000 crore. Okay, chalo, you can say supply chain problem was there, this was there, that was there. Last year and last year it was also same 4,500 crore. So why would you pay 2.5 lakh crore market cap for such a company?
no, but DGRS, this 4,000 includes income on deposits and all that, no?
So everything, so this is net profit.
Yeah, but you remove, no?
Correct. If you include, if you remove that, then it's even less.
Anyway, good. Yeah, Abhishek, you want to say something?
Sir, I was just talking about the inflation that has happened in the basic cars of Maruti. जो यहाँ पे जो बिकती है ना सर, जो majority of the cars I would know कि that is Alto and probably Omni. These are the lowest bracket of cars that sells in the market. And इसका competition जो है ना, तो mass market जो है, इसके पास किसी का company के पास इलाज नहीं है. So let's say Renault has Kwid or some other company has some other small car. But जो Alto का reliability है and the kind of brand image that it has got by now, वो तुमको नहीं मिलेगा कहीं पे भी. And that car 2019, that's what I'm talking about. It used to cost about 280 ex showroom, and now it is costing about 320. So आप सोचो कि these are the cars which get used in the mass markets. Advertising inflation and a lot of other factors कि कौन खरीदेगा. So volumes का decline बहुत खतरनाक होने वाला है. Even though your realizations in terms of revenue might still go up or still remain flat, but then the fact of the matter is that it's not margins are reducing. This is my limited point.
Okay. Any other?
Jatin has requested. He's coming up as on speaker mode.
Rajiv Soni ji hai.
Yeah, Rajiv.
Yeah, can I Sharad bhai? Good evening. I'm Samad. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah,
Good evening.
Pathfinder, good evening. Yeah, Sharad bhai, so quickly wrap up. So coming to Mumbai for party, आप जब बुलाओगे? Because to be very honest, very happy with my own portfolio, how I'm managing. Did first time very nicely, very strategically selling. And I don't know I'm out of the topic or not, but I always talk about my personal views. So I did very good, selling in stocks for the first time because of you, and very much confident. It's a strategically I moved with all hedging and all. So again, if I talk about market, what you have just said that FIs have got still a lot of to sell, and now we are trapped and stuck. So it is helping me out, to be very honest. So I was reading, and I will again correlate your thinking, your learning with Charlie Munger. he said that one day he was sitting with Warren Buffett sir, and he said, "Listen, Warren, there are 99% people. There are so many people those are foolish in stock market. That's why we are earning." So directly, indirectly, what I wanted to say, because of your space and learning, I am maintaining my portfolio, and I'm very happy. So I'm coming to meet you Mumbai soon, Sharad bhai.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
हाँ जतिन भाई, आपको कुछ बोलना था?
No, sorry, I got dropped out earlier because my batteries ran out. So I was just answering Fact Finder when he said, "Is it due to hygiene factors, masking, etc.?" So just some basic numbers, both in the month of April as well as
The
in
amount of
May.
interest and passion you have now, that's what matters in stock market.
Bro,
Hello.
that and research, and you have to go on reading.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
There is someone needs to mute his.
Just mute DTRS.
Yeah.
I'm on mute.
Yeah.
I'm on mute.
So just in the month of April and May, three segments, which sub-therapy segments, respiratory, anti-infectives, vitamins, these account for roughly, I think, about 28% to 35% of the total Indian market. These were down anywhere between 18 to 30% respectively for each segment, both in April. April, actually, the decline was sharper, and May, also there has been a very sharp decline, which is why the overall market is now showing a decline. So just to that was first just to answer Pathfinder's very specific question. But second thing I think is, as it normalizes, the base goes away. I think the industry is going to struggle in the second half of the year in terms of growth, because historically, this is a qualitative comment, not a quantitative comment, can't be proved. But historically, the industry has suffered in a time of low income growth, low GDP growth, or very high inflation.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jatin.
As somebody
Yes, sir. Yeah, old student.
Hello, am I audible, Sharad sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
तो सर एक ऑब्जर्वेशन था और एक क्वेश्चन था. अभी हम लोग पहले ऑब्जर्वेशन की बात करते हैं. वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटरेस्ट रेट्स एंड द जनरल ट्रेंड. One observation I wanted to make was that housing finance companies and banks generally depend a lot on assignment income as a part of their total revenue, and it shows a good profit. Assignment is basically, in simple terms, sir, आप तो CA है, senior है, तो आप तो समझ गए होगे. But it is basically जो loan है उसको package करके resell करते हैं, and in a downward interest regime, it gives a good profit, and as per accounting standards, you can book the profit. For the tenure of the remaining tenure of the loan in and second sir एक पूछना था.
नहीं, एक मिनट.
हाँ.
आपका नाम क्या है और आप क्या काम करते हो?
Okay sir, sorry about that. मेरा नाम प्रशांत है sir. I am a chartered accountant, around 30 years of post qualification experience. I used to work in a corporate life, and now I left that, and I am now managing my portfolio.
तो पोर्टफोलियो बहुत बड़ा होगा आपका?
अरे नहीं सर, इतना बड़ा भी नहीं है, but sufficient for me. Let me say that. My needs are very less, and my portfolio takes care of that.
And where are you located?
Mumbai.
So you DM me.
Okay sir. Okay.
अभी आप सवाल पूछो.
हाँ, सवाल ये पूछना था सर कि generally we are seeing demand destruction in practically all the areas and fields. Defense is somehow, I feel, it will have a less of a demand destruction than other sectors. तो उसके बारे में आपका views, and if you can suggest any good stocks, not for immediate purchase, but when the valuations become reasonable.
नहीं, बट आपका मैं सवाल नहीं समझा. डिमांड
सर मेरा फिर से बोलता हूँ. In practically all the sectors, there is a demand destruction and the future business potential is down. Defense is one sector where the local companies are having consistent and reliable orders and assurance of collection. So defense sector में what do you feel, and in the defense sector are there a good companies to buy when the valuations become reasonable?
नो, डिफेंस में तो ये अपना ये आपने HAL है, फिर भारत डायनामिक्स है, और वो BL है.
MTAR टेक्नोलॉजीज.
हाँ,
MTAR टेक्नोलॉजीज सर.
क्या मालूम, वो नहीं मालूम.
अभी नए IPO है सर.
अरे छोड़ो यार IPO का, क्या बोगस बात, नॉनसेंस है सर. लेना तो रेप्यूटेड ही लेना.
हाँ.
और जूना पुराना ही लेना. और मेरे हिसाब से ना ये अभी बहुत लाइमलाइट में आ गया है, डिफेंस.
ओके.
तो ठंडा हो जाए बाद में ले लेना.
Okay sir.
Thank you.
That's it from my side.
Thank you. स्वरणजीत भाई बोलिए, क्या खबर लाए हो?
नमस्ते सर. मैंने कहा थोड़ा सा बात कर लें आफ्टर हमारा इन्फ्लेशन रेट. मेरे को तो लग रहा था नीचे जाएगा 8.3% से, बट आई वाज सरप्राइज कि 8.6 प्रिंट आया. सो इससे तो आई थिंक अगला जून और जुलाई का ऑलमोस्ट लॉक्ड इन है. 50 basis points increase by the Fed Reserve. So I think the next two are going to be increase. Or September is probably the earliest that they might start backing off. So agle do are guaranteed. So I think market will really be choppy. I think next 2 to 3 months. और थोड़े से swings down भी हो सकते हैं अगर आपने कोई अच्छे stocks चुने हुए हैं तो उसमें ले सकते हैं. और आई थिंक बेयर मार्केट होता है कि आप जो भी अपना पोर्टफोलियो है ना वो आप समझ सकें. आई थिंक दिस इज अ गुड टाइम टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आपका स्ट्रेटजी क्या है और उसको सोलिडिफाई करें बेयर मार्केट में. सो आई थिंक दिस इज अ गुड टाइम टू डू दैट. और मैंने एक चीज कल सुनी थी, मे बी शरद सर कैन कंफर्म और रिफ्यूट, कि जो the ceiling for our interest rate is जो 2-year US Treasury जो है ना वो ceiling होएगा हमारा. So जो US Treasury अभी है 3%. So हमारा interest rate right now is 0.75 to 1%. So अगले 2 meetings में जब 50 basis points बढ़ाएंगे, so I think 2% तक जाएगा. But I think one number to keep track of is the 2-year US Treasury. वो बताता है कि ceiling कहाँ पे होएगा. So ये is this correct, sir?
2.98 है.
हाँ. Is that correct कि
2-year is 2.98.
हाँ. So this is good to keep track of कि your 2-year US Treasury, and that's the ceiling for them to raise the interest rate.
No. See, I will tell you something. It's all sentiment. Nothing else. Sentiment. If sentiment is good, आप 4% इंटरेस्ट कर दोगे तो भी ऊपर जाएगा, और आधा टका करोगे 0 कर दोगे तो भी नीचे जाएगा. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इज सेंटिमेंट. So sentiment is very bearish now. So to fight the sentiment बहुत difficult है. बहुत खतरनाक है, अपने को संभालना है। लगता है आप वो बुलिश हो थोड़े, आप बुलिश ही रहो, but in US also there are so many stocks that are going up leaps and bounds, तो आप उसमें इन्वेस्ट करो, बहुत अच्छा मार्केट है यूएस मार्केट। आपको माइक्रोसॉफ्ट एप्पल से लेन देन नहीं है तो कोई चिंता का विषय नहीं है। ये एक्सॉन भी तो ऊपर हो गया, शेवरॉन ऊपर हो गया, कितना रिटर्न मिला आपको। तो आई थिंक एक्सॉन एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वाज $40, तो 105 या 110 हो गए। तो जस्ट इमेजिन कि Dow Jones has gone down, but Exxon has gone up, Chevron has gone up, and likewise so many stocks have gone up. I would love to be in US markets. It's a dream. That's it, Saranjit bhai. और कुछ बोलना है?
I agree that there's good stocks, but मैं short term bearish हूँ, but long term मेरे को तो लगता है कि the Fed will continue to print money. So I think the manipulation is always there in the markets, and you know when the U.S. Federal Reserve can just print trillions of dollars with the push of a button. So I think the manipulation will continue to go forward. One of the stocks, I've been following Elon Musk and Tesla. That's one of my preferred stocks. But yeah, a lot of good companies, and I think oil company, like you mentioned, oil is beat down, but that oil is like the currency of the world, so everyone needs that, and I think that will continue to do well. And like you said, good hard assets will always do good, and this is a good time to accumulate. मैंने आपको शायद सर एक ना वीडियो सीरीज डीएम किया था, आप एक बार देखना।
अच्छा,
नहीं मिला? एक बार देखना, वो बड़ा अच्छा है।
हाँ जी। आपको यूएस मार्केट में बेरिश होने का कोई मतलब नहीं है। जी, अगर आप टेस्ला का बात करेंगे वो $50 भी हो जाएगा, $100 भी हो जाएगा। आई डोंट नो एनीथिंग अबाउट इट, बट आई एम सेइंग देयर आर वेरियस स्टॉक्स। अभी ये वॉलमार्ट नीचे आया है, 110 होएगा तो आप पटारा भर के ले लो। वो कॉस्टको 420 आया था, ले लिया होता तो वो 4 दिन में 470 हो गया। So when there is a discount sale, no, you just pick up the hard asset companies, you will make lot of money. ये टेक्नोलॉजी में पैसा नहीं बनेगा अभी। This is my two bit.
And मेरा I think I like your strategy कि आप अच्छे स्टॉक्स लेकर लॉन्ग टर्म होल्ड करें, लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टर बने।
अरे नहीं करो लॉन्ग टर्म भी।
नो लॉन्ग टर्म नहीं।
नहीं सुनो ना सर, अभी कॉस्ट को अभी 7-8 दिन पहले 410 आया था, वो ले लेते, 420 में ले लेते, तो आज 470 में बिकता है। सो देयर आर ग्रेट ट्रेडिंग अपॉर्चुनिटीज एक्सेप्ट टेक्नोलॉजी।
हाँ सही कहा आपने एक बारी वो मैंने डीएम जो की थी ना वीडियो सीरीज देखना प्लीज।
ओके,
थैंक यू,
जरूर देख।
थैंक यू सर।
यस हरमीत भाई।
सर गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल। सर भाई, हाउ आर यू डूइंग?
फाइन।
गुड इवनिंग सर।
गुड इवनिंग सर, गुड इवनिंग। बिफोर आई स्टार्ट, मेरा एक पॉइंट है, somebody raised a very valid point on defense, so that there is no demand disruption. Was that specific to India or global? Because the defense ecosystem in India is very different to the defense ecosystem globally. तो एक मेरा वो एक पॉइंट था। दूसरा, आई थिंक लास्ट टाइम हमने जब बात किया था, मेरे ख्याल से आई मेंशन क्रूड इज पिक्ड अप इवन मोर, So I think I am being on the right tangent कि crude अभी और बढ़ेगा. And बीच में अगर कहीं थोड़ा ठंडा पड़ गया तो पड़ गया, बट क्रूड भी ऊपर जाना है. मैं आज थोड़ा सा 2 मिनट I'll just take to talk about, so I don't know how many people are interested in real estate or they follow the stock market and real estate are two different things. जब pandemic आया था, when the pandemic happened and all, things went very south for the real estate. And I remember there was around about that time, one of my last interviews in the paper. And I said that, going forward, all of a sudden, this 20-year, drive condominium ka, high rises ka is going to come to an end because Shanghai mein or the lockdown ho chuka tha. So you got caught up on the 30th floor, 25th floor, and people were not able to go down, not take their dogs, not take a lot of stuff, and they were like prisoners. So I said ki land will get unlocked. People had moved from land and single family housing, Kothi se, flats mein, all over India. And that trend actually picked up. And last 10-11 months, a lot of money has been made and a lot of land values have been locked. So जैसे वो कहते हैं ना 500 गज का, 300 गज का, 1000 गज के प्लॉट दिखने शुरू हो गए all over India, especially towards NCR. So of late I was asked one this question कि boss आप तो कह रहे थे real estate will not do well, but things are doing very well. Equity has been going up and now real estate is going up. और 1 लाख रुपए गज का जो जमीन था वो 2.5 लाख रुपए गज हो गया. तो you double your money in real estate. So I said the reason why real estate has gone up is very simple. For last 4 years, people have not been able to deploy their black money. Ever since 2016, they've been holding on to black money. I said, give me one deal in the market जिसमें 50% payment black money का नहीं है. अगर नहीं है, तो I take my words back. If people are buying plots, everything in white, 7 crore रुपए में plot खरीद रहे हैं white में, I stand absolutely wrong and I take my words back, my analysis back. The real estate is really doing very well. ऐसे मुझे 8 करोड़ रुपए white में plot बेच के दिखा दो. बोला नहीं सर आप बिल्कुल ठीक है, 50-60% तो black की transaction है. So I said, understand why there is a black transaction and why the money has all of a sudden gone into real estate and people are pumping in money. Andha paisa. I said, because people cannot see money being made in white. The returns on businesses are dwindling. It's much harder to retain your P&L account, your market share. And I'm talking about small guys, and we obviously look at numbers. SMEs are, kind of destroyed. MSMEs are in stress. The large corporates don't play in real estate. It's justly people who make 15-20 crores and then they will make money on the side, put some money in the equity and mutual funds, and they will park their money in real estate. Predominantly, those are the guys who put in a lot of money into real estate. The big guys don't go about doing, 500 gaz ka, 1000 gaz ka deal. They do different kind of real estate deals. So I said it's the inadequacy to earn and the fear of the future. कि क्या हम कमा पाएंगे वाइट में, इतना टैक्स दे रहे हैं, तो आज जो कैश है उसको कहाँ समेटना है. तो आप कैश को वहीं समेट सकते हो रियल एस्टेट में, एंड रियल एस्टेट इज अ स्टेट सब्जेक्ट. तो कल ईडी का रेड हो जाएगा तो आपका जमीन उठा के ले नहीं जाएंगे, आपका जैसे बैंक अकाउंट फ्रीज हो जाएगा, बट जमीन तो वहीं पे रहेगा. मैं बड़ी प्रैक्टिकल बात कर रहा हूँ, सो प्लीज बेयर विद मी. एंड दैट इज वन ऑफ द रीजंस why people, not because all of a sudden real estate is going to make a lot of returns, they want to secure whatever cash they had. They want to secure their future because they're very insecure about the earnings in the future. And for them, that security is somewhere, kind of maintained by a physical asset in a land. So, बहुत पैसा जमीन में गया. Now, why I'm saying this is this also tantamounts and shows the sentiments in the market vis-a-vis the economy. While people might analyze it as a great run in the real estate market, a bull run in the market, I see it absolutely differently. My simple logic is आज आप 5 करोड़ रुपए का जमीन खरीद रहे हो, क्या मुझे कल आप 10 करोड़ रुपए में बेच के दिखा सकते हो? The answer is going to be no. Any guy who comes into the market tomorrow will say, boss मैं 4 करोड़ रुपए दूंगा, 5 करोड़ का चीज का 3 करोड़ दूंगा. The movement of the purchase will be downward, not upward. Now, if it's going to be downward, not upward, then you are basically creating a bubble. Now, my another point is the moment you create a bubble in the real estate market, it's a cash-rich game. If it bursts, with low interest rates having played out in the market over the last 2.5 years, and I've been one of those prominents who's been saying for the last year and a half that the RBI should have increased the rates. I have my own reasons, and started tightening the interest rates in the market so that before the market screws you on inflation, you have a controlled mechanism of screwing yourself. The logic was we need to shore up the supply side while the demand was collapsing. Now, when there is no demand, मेरा बिजनेस नहीं चल रहा तो मुझे आप क्रेडिट देके करोगे क्या? मैं वो क्रेडिट का लेके करूंगा क्या? मतलब मैं जाके एसएमई हूँ या मैं बैंक से जाके 2 करोड़ रुपए का लोन लेकर करूं क्या उसका? आप देने को तैयार हो मगर मैं लेके करूं क्या उस पैसे का? Capacities are still not peak capacities, whether it is manufacturing or other areas. Any kind of output that has come back in 2021, 22 is not going to be benchmarked against 5-6 years peak. It's going to be benchmarked against 2019, 18. Everything will look rosy in 22 against 2020. So for me, I look at larger picture, and why I might say this, I always maintain that within this practical reality of the scenario that is around us, there are always those silver linings of opportunity. So while somebody said about defense, the factor is that defense manufacturing in India is still absolutely in shambles. We are not getting the TOTs. Foreigners are not willing to, give away their TOTs to us, our technology. And the government says, listen, आज ये लिस्ट निकाल दिया, अभी सिर्फ इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चर होगा. आप क्या मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हो इंडिया में? मुझे मतलब we are not manufacturing anything, nothing. We are only assembling things. We are making some parts of things. We're not actually manufacturing any major technology. Now, any foreign guy who has put in a lot of R&D into defense is not going to come into India and say, listen, I put in $1 billion of R&D into my business. Oh, great. You're India, you're making India. Okay, take it. People want their pound of flesh in business. It's business. There is no philanthropy in this. So they will always structure a deal out and say, listen, okay, to show that you're serious about buying my technology and my product, buy $120 million, $200 million worth of equipment for me. And in lieu of that, I will, over a period of next 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, make in India, I will part transfer certain technology, certain component manufacturing over here, but still keep the criticality of my technology to myself till I understand that my $1 billion can become 3x from your country. That's not happening. Defense budgets are announced, but defense outlays, मैं आपको बोल सकता हूँ कि मेरे पास 20,000 करोड़ रुपया, 40,000 करोड़ रुपया पड़ा हुआ है. क्या वो खर्च हो रहा है? आउटले में और खर्च होने में बड़ा फर्क है. इट्स अ क्लासिक केस. वो जैसे अभी एम्बर हर्ड और जॉनी डेप का केस हुआ तो एम्बर हर्ड ने बोला I pledged my $7 million to the charity, but did you donate it? The answer is no. So you have pledged it, but you have not donated it. So similarly, a lot of the money is lying on the books. It is actually not going. Now, if it starts going, then that actually creates more jobs. That is productive, incremental value in the GDP. So I think that's my 2 bits, sir. Sharad bhai. Thank you.
एक बात बताइए
सर
कि ये जो डिफेंस कंपनीज है, भारत इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, भारत डायनामिक्स, HAL वगैरह, हाउ अकॉर्डिंग टू मी वो तो सब स्पेयर पार्ट्स का काम करते हैं.
मैं वही तो कह रहा हूँ, स्पेयर पार्ट का काम कर रहे हैं ना. दे आर नॉट इनटू क्रिटिकल टेक्नोलॉजी.
नहीं, आर दे और they are not.
They're not into critical technology. Have they been able to make a plane from scratch to the end?
No.
That's it. That's the end of the story, sir.
So all this is.
So the point is, if I need to get my Sukhois serviced, do they need to be sent to Russia or can they be done in Bangalore? or any of the bases here? The answer is they need to be sent back to Russia.
Yeah.
Any upgradation. So if they have to be sent back to Russia for upgradations, that means I'm still lacking the critical ecosystem to do anything here.
But I can't understand how this defense or listed companies are doing so well. क्या है क्या उसमें?
सर देखो
मैं एक कमेंट कर सकता हूँ. जैसे यूएस में है ना, यूएस में the dollar is backed by the military industrial complex. So dollar की protection military industrial complex है. So I think जो funding जाती है ना government से, वो priority is always to the military. So I think it goes directly there. Unko, if they're doing something good, it's fine. They'll get the money. If they're not doing something good, they will still get the money. So this is where I think the...
Sir, देखो मैं इसमें my bet is you're absolutely right, but understand economies. मैं businessman हूँ. I've been a student of economics, but the point is business doesn't happen because you wait for a market to come up. You have to create a market. America को आप गालियाँ निकाल लो 100. The point is their industrial military complex is a business in itself. It runs banks, it runs VCs, it runs the economy, it runs jobs, which means conflict for them is important to create a market. Conflict होगा तो उनका सामान बिकेगा, वो सामान बिकेगा तो पेट्रोल बिकेगा, पेट्रोल बिकेगा तो in lieu of petrol, in lieu of this offsets आएंगे तो offset में बोलोगे अच्छा मैं तुमसे टमाटर खरीद लूंगा, प्याज खरीद लूंगा, ये खरीद लूंगा. It's a total chain of economics. Now, if India wants to be a superpower in a limited sense in Asia from a defense perspective, and if you think, I am a defense manufacturer. If I think I'm going to put up a defense factory in India because I'm going to supply to India, boss, मेरी factory खड़ी होने से पहले बंद हो जाएगी. I need to have on day one a market for my product which hedges my capability not only in India but maybe my borders, my neighbors, Southeast Asia, other places, so that my markets are open. Which means I can't go to Indonesia and Philippines and say मेरी ammunition खरीद लो. अब अमेरिका क्यों अमेरिका है? क्योंकि वो जाके कहीं ना कहीं लड़ाई करा देगी, लड़ाई कराएगी तो उनका माल बिकेगा. We don't follow that doctrine in Southeast Asia of creating disruptions, being or let's say there being a problem and saying India is going to come to your aid and मैं आपको डिफेंस का इक्विपमेंट दूंगा. अब अगर आप वो डॉक्ट्रिन पे होते तो आप सबके लिए माल बना रहे हो. यू आर नॉट मेकिंग फॉर इंडिया. अब उसमें क्या होता है, जब आप सबके लिए माल बनाते हो, आप दूसरे को X+4 पे बेच रहे हो और अपने आप को X पे दे रहे हो, which means your books become cheaper. Your own procurement internally becomes cheaper because you're going to load a certain amount of the cost to the other neighbors. It is what the Chinese have done when they make Nike. It was not, or a shoe, and it went millions and millions. The Nikes were getting it done not for China or America, they were getting it done for the globe. Hence, the production costs were extremely down. Right? Now, if I'm going to make only for a captive audience, which is India, something goes wrong, I'm dead. I'm buried. I need to have a very large, broader horizon. Now, if you want to be really doing something well in defense, you can't simply say, I'm going to put up a factory in India because I'm going to supply to the Indian Army, Indian Air Force. Your product has to be globally competitive, which means the Israelis should be willing to buy from you because you have a cost competitive advantage, and when it comes to labor cost, what I can get done from an employee over here at 18,000-20,000 rupees per month, I'm going to get the same labor cost in the US at 5 lakhs. Right? So whatever is labor intensive is a huge labor cost. And look at the competitive advantage on labor cost. But if I do it only for India, there's no competitive advantage. So when you look at economies, you look at business, you have to look at a very broad horizon. You can't simply say, जी मैं वो सिर्फ महाराष्ट्र को बेच दूंगा, मध्य प्रदेश को बेच दूंगा. आपको देखना है कि मैं कितने लोगों को बेच सकता हूँ और वो बेचने का काम क्या है. You have to be globally competitive. Today you have some very good companies in India doing defense stuff. They make some great products. But the point is the scale of operation is not global reach. Now, because it's not global reach, a country like Turkey can come in and actually kill you in the global competitive market at whatever prices you are quoting at 1/3 the price, and you're done with it. Nobody wants to buy a $5 Kevlar body vest from you when Turkey can supply it $140. Everybody wants to, because end of the day, the checks and balances of payment. And military stuff is always going to be procured through a certain way of tenderization of products. There is going to be checks and balances. There are rip-offs, there are payoffs. So people want checks and balances. Somebody is going to get up and say, listen, भाई $500 का सामान ले रहे हो, 180 का जब कोट आया वो क्यों नहीं खरीद रहे आप? So are you globally competitive? And the answer is no.
अरविंद भाई,
हाँ जी सर.
ऐसा दिन कभी आएगा कि अपने हवाई जहाज बनाएंगे कि एकदम अच्छे मशीन बनाएंगे?
सर वो इसलिए नहीं हो सकता यहाँ पर, और मैं वो पेसिमिस्टिक व्यू नहीं, मेरा बड़ा रियलिस्टिक व्यू होता है. उसका रीजन बड़ा सिंपल है. व्हेन यू गेट इनटू मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, द बेंट ऑफ माइंड हैज टू बी प्योर एक्सीलेंस. Manufacturing is preceded by R&D. R&D requires equity. Equity pumping into R&D requires patience. Patience is something which lacks in India. Why are the largest pharmaceutical companies with patents not in India? Why are generics over here and not in... because a Pfizer or a Glen or a SmithKline Beecham is willing to spend $5, $6, $7 billion into research, and sometimes it goes down the drain. India, are you willing to spend $10 billion or $12 billion on a research product and go into a patent and then make mint money on that? The answer is you don't have the patience for it. Now, manufacturing requires a lot of R&D. It's science, which means to get the best global product, you have to do a lot of research in science. You have to have scientists. You got to pay them. You got to be patient about getting a product. You can't just keep re-engineering things. And that also the lowest common denominator re-engineering, not the highest level re-engineering. So Chinese have been able to get the highest level of re-engineering and slowly move into a competitive gear of manufacturing and designing. But India just simply lacks the R&D capability. Not because they don't want, they can't. It's just that the mental mind is not there. And with a large population, you can't simply say, I'm going to do make in India, because half the population doesn't want to work. सबको कल अरबपति बनना है बिना काम करे. सबको गाड़ी चाहिए कल. कोई भी मेहनत करने को तैयार नहीं है. तो उस केस में the only way for an Indian kind of an economy to grow is, India is such a big country, beautiful places, but our tourism is absolutely abysmal. I asked, an IAS officer in the government, I said, sir, आपको पता है कि number 1 tourist स्टेट कौन सा इंडिया का? वो मुझे बोलता है राजस्थान. मैंने बोला नहीं, नंबर 1 तमिलनाडु है. ही वाज शॉक्ड. ऐसे राजस्थान तो 7% टूरिस्ट जाते हैं. द नंबर 1 टूरिस्ट कमिंग टू इंडिया आर बांग्लादेशी. द एवरेज स्पेंड बाय एंड लार्ज बाय अ फॉरेन टूरिस्ट इन इंडिया जस्ट बियॉन्ड इज अबाउट $2,000. A country like Thailand gets anywhere about $7,500, $8,000. Look at the difference. A foreign tourist coming into India does not visit India again for next 7-8 years, which means there is no recurring tourism from the same clientele. That also analyzes that the experience of coming to India and then saying, listen, I want to visit that country again. There's so much to explore. I've just hardly been able to do is hardly there. So there is no tourism policy. The maximum amount of people and the distribution of wealth that can happen in this country is by localizing the economies. And by localizing economies, you can actually localize tourism. That's the you can train a guy in tourism within 45 days. Soft skills. But you can't force him to work in a factory on a high innovative science project. Your GDP and your growth will happen when the common denominator is able to spend money. And he has money in his pocket, not the richest guy.
I will ask you another question.
Sir.
What's your opinion on tourism industry?
Sorry, come again, sir?
On tourism industry. Tourism.
We're nowhere. We're nowhere. On an average, sir, mind my this thing, don't hold me accountable to the exact maths, but I think roughly 7.5 to about 8 odd crore people in India travel by road on the highways for tourism. Are we able to capture their business? The answer is no. 90% of the money on that money is spent on dhabas and all, which does not capture you or create money or optimizes the business for the government revenue. Your road infrastructure in India is about tolls. Your road infrastructure in India is about कि मैं रोड बना दूंगा तो लेफ्ट राइट पे मैं जेपी को और उसको जमीन दे दूंगा, वो घर बना लेंगे. That's bullshit. आप जमीन बेच के वन टाइम स्टैम्प ड्यूटी कमा रहे हो. You lost the revenue for the government. But if you create an infrastructure and that infrastructure gives you recurring income at different levels of economy, then what you've done is you've created an ecosystem where the government continues to generate revenue even when you're sleeping. Toll is not a great methodology of making revenue on a road. You're just recovering the cost. It's not a business model. It's a revenue कलेक्शन मॉडल. ये जो मेरा पैसा लगा ना 1000 करोड़ रुपए वापस ले लूंगा. You have to make your highways business driven, not revenue driven. So when I say revenue driven, I'm saying not just to recover the money. It's about longevity of the money, which means the planning of the roads, the planning of the infrastructure, the planning of the IT services, making those highways brilliant, making those roads and those highways an experience in itself should count.
Okay, Arvind bhai.
Sir.
आपका टाइम हो गया.
Dan sir, thank you so much for bearing me out, sir.
कोई है समर्थ? Samarth is good. Okay.
I had a couple of things to say. Can I say that?
Yeah.
So, one of the things is I was actually, so government obviously announced the MSP. I was actually very surprised. Quite a pathetic MSP increase of roughly about 5-6%. Which is most products were below inflation. So, I think this is actually quite negative in some sort of sense. In some products, obviously MSP is irrelevant, like wheat. But in general, it's a little disappointing given the fact that raw material inflation and farm input inflation is so severe. To give a 5 to 6% increase in MSP is absolutely nothing. It's quite pathetic. So that I think is a slight negative from a rural economy narrative that the rural economy will pick up. The second thing that I picked up is apparently government has made it now harder for a person to claim MNREGA, that is the Manrega scheme, where it is a guarantee for work, right? You get 100 days of work. So they have introduced some method of technology because of which not all of these people are able to apply. They're using some Aadhaar-based system, which has made it a little more complicated. And as a result, not everybody is able to actually apply even if they want to apply, which is why it shows demand, but that demand is actually lesser than what is the real demand. And everybody only looks at real, reported demand. The other thing is, I was looking at, various milk. Milk is a very important product in our country from an inflation point of view. There's a very interesting tweet put out by this Ramanan guy. We looked at every single item that goes for the food, for the feed of the cows. That has gone up anywhere between 25% to about 150%. So different products have gone up between 25 to 150%, on an average about 65-70% for the various items that go for feed for the cows in the last 2 years. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure on these farmers who animal husbandry guys to increase the price of milk. So my sense is price of milk will be pushed up quite severely. So that's another inflationary thing that will come through, which today is still not in the CPI number. Thirdly, on Reliance. So obviously Reliance. So I was looking at the data for the month of May. This was a little bit of a surprise. So India's imports of Russian crude has now touched 850,000 barrels in the month of May. That is roughly about 18% of India's consumption. Month of April, it was 15% of India's consumption. Now it's 18%. And as per the schedule for the ships, it will be 20% in June. Now here is the important thing. Out of that 18%, 9% is going to Reliance Industries. And Reliance Industries is processing this crude and almost shipping 80 to 90% of that to Europe and US and Australia. So the question I'm trying to understand is, why should a private sector company take advantage of a government to government discussion? Because India is effectively taking a sovereign risk out here by going and buying crude from Russia when most other countries are saying no, we don't want to buy that crude. Especially India's friends like US, Japan, Australia are saying we don't want to buy that crude, and we are buying it. And then so we are taking some sort of a reputational risk as a country, and the advantage is being taken by Reliance. That, to my mind, is a very big surprise. The fourth point is, one of the reasons why refining margins were high is because of the shortage of refined capacity and inventory levels. China is the only country which has excess refining capacity. They have, I think 2 days ago, announced an increase in the export quota for refined products. So now there is a chance they might increase this once again. So this needs to be watched, because if China keeps increasing the export quota for refined products, then the refinery margin, which is the only reason why Reliance is doing well, can correct. So that is one thing to just keep in mind.
Fact finder.
Yeah.
The price of Reliance is 2,700. Out of which the refinery business valued at 350 rupees. Now, if we take extra refining margin, blah blah blah, तो 450 होगा. बट ये रिटेल का वैल्यूएशन है, वो तो इम्पॉसिबल है. You get my point?
I agree. See, the thing is, no, Sharadji, the stock has gone up because earnings get upgraded because of refining margins. See, at the end of the day, we all discuss about SOTP, how much is the value coming from refining, how much is the value coming from this and that. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to earnings growth and earnings upgrades. So stock has gone up and done very well and kept them is because people said refining margins are good, so earnings will get upgraded, so buy the stock. So similarly, if there is a risk of China adding more and more refining export, then refining margins can go down, and then that will also pull down earnings estimates.
Yeah, I agree with you on the refining margin, but as such, the other businesses are not doing well. Jio is not doing well. Retail is not doing well. तो वो रिफाइनरी का 350 है तो 450 हो गया, तो बाकी का भी तो नीचे आना चाहिए. That's the point I'm making.
Fair point.
वो नैरेटिव के लिए अच्छा है रिफाइनिंग मार्जिन रिफाइनिंग, बट रिफाइनरी का 20 लाख का मार्केट कैप वो थोड़ी हो सकता है.
True. And one more thing is, I think by December, all the European insurance companies and US insurance companies, which account for 90% of global insurance for shipping, they will stop insuring any ship that runs Russian product, any ship. So I don't know how we will be able to get ships to get that crude to India, because you need insurance for ships, and Russia doesn't have as much. They have shipping capacity, but not sufficient. Maybe not sufficient shipping capacity to get that crude to India, because they have different types of ships. And second of all, are people willing to take the risk of only the insurance also being provided by a Russian counterparty? Because a port will accept a ship only if they accept the insurance of that ship. So it will be a challenge. This will only kick in December. So till December, India can have a free hand at Russian crude oil.
Yeah. It's very strange that a country of 15 crore and GDP of 60% of India controls so much of power. It's mind-boggling.
No, but it's also the biggest country in the world and by landmass, right?
Yeah.
And it's very rich in commodities, right?
Yeah, it is rich. Oh, only thing vis-a-vis India is we have also those, but we have not developed it. We have no interest in development. India is a resource-filled country, but how we are doing, I don't know. Yes, please, Srinivasan, बोलो कुछ.
Sir. Just actually, the earlier topic on defense stocks, some experience with venture capitalist funds trying to make a play there. Harmeet ji gave excellent insights. Quick one on the numbers. Our budget is some 5 lakh crore. Usme other budget goes to salaries, 2.5 lakh crores. Another 1.4 lakhs is going to pensions and other sort of responsibilities, obligations. Another 25,000 crores goes in running the Ministry of Defense, which also has some of the Secret Service. वो सब भी वहाँ होता है. So capital outlay, which is the main thing that is being discussed, is only about 1.4 lakh crores. Usme, that has grown 8 to 15% in the last 7 to 10 years. It's not changed much. कभी underspend होता है तो next year का budget looks like a higher percentage growth, but it's broadly been that. In that 1,40,000 crore, about 110, 120, 1.2, 1 lakh crores is fixed. It's foreign purchases, this Rafale, these big items, Rafale jet and Sukhois and all those things. The remaining 15, 20,000 crores goes to, as Harmeet Jain you said, spare parts. ये BEL and HAL का जो भी business चल रहा है वो चलता रहेगा. It is stable. The discretionary part, the narrative is so different. The actual on ground is somebody is making some new camouflage or somebody is getting some 500 crore ka armory, that car that Mahindra got the order for. it doesn't make a difference to Mahindra's life. So there is actually no play, because even people as desperate story masters like my friends in the venture capital industry said यहाँ कुछ story बनाने के लिए भी नहीं है, मतलब government is not spending. So defense stocks, I feel, and even they feel good momentum play, but ये new story कुछ नहीं है. This HAL and all will continue doing the way they are, and those are fine. Just want to give the numbers on this, sir.
Good, thank you.
Srini, just one question. You said 10 to 15% growth each year over the last 6-7 years, or over the last 7 years in accumulation?
No, 8 to 15 annually. Broad range दे रहा हूँ मैं. Like 7-8 साल का, if you just look at the chart.
Okay.
बेसिकली कुछ बदला नहीं है, चल रहा है, मतलब एंड तनख्वाह पे जाता है पैसा. That's it. Like there's nothing has changed. 500 crore का bullet proof underwear got bought. Big deal. So
Okay, Nirav Shah, बोलिए. नहीं बोलना है. नीरव शाह, प्लीज. अनिल भाई. अनिल भाई.
सर मैं क्यों चैट करूं?
नहीं, अनिल भाई. Unmute yourself and please speak up.
हेलो हेलो जी सर, मुझे ये जानना था कि बहुत बार ऑप्शंस का प्रीमियम तो नहीं बढ़ता कि उस दिन
बोलिए ना.
स्पॉट में प्राइस तो बढ़ता रहता है बट ऑप्शंस का प्रीमियम नहीं बढ़ता है, ऐसा क्यों होता है?
सर ये जो पूछ रहे उनका सवाल दे. जवाब. ये जो पूछ रहे हैं सर कि ऑप्शंस का प्रीमियम क्यों नहीं बढ़ रहा जब स्टॉक का अगर भाव नीचे जा रहा है, तो ऑप्शन प्रीमियम काहे नहीं बढ़ रहा? अनिल जी, जवाब इसका ये है कि लिक्विडिटी बहुत कम हो गया मार्केट में. तो आपको अगर दिखता है इम्प्रूवमेंट इन प्रीमियम, तो आप देखोगे
सर ऐसा प्रॉब्लम मेरे साथ में एक बार एक्सपायरी वाले दिन हुआ था.
नहीं, एक्सपायरी के टाइम पे नहीं, अभी भी हो रहा है. ऑप्शन के प्रीमियम्स है ना, वो बहुत धीरे धीरे बढ़ रहा है क्योंकि जो बिड आस्क के बीच में जो स्प्रेड है ना, वो बहुत ज्यादा हो जा रहा है आजकल. लिक्विडिटी.
सर एक बार क्या हुआ मेरे साथ में, बैंक निफ्टी में 200 पॉइंट बढ़ गए बट ऑप्शंस का प्रीमियम बिल्कुल नहीं बढ़ा, वो उल्टा लॉस में और हो गया.
लिक्विडिटी कम है इसीलिए.
हाँ जी.
लिक्विडिटी बहुत ज्यादा कम है और जो आपको डिफरेंस दिखना चाहिए ऑप्शन के प्रीमियम में, वो उतना जल्दी नहीं दिखेगा आपको.
और सर जैसे एक्सपायरी पे जो अपन हीरो जो ट्रेड बनाते हैं, उसके लिए स्पॉट प्राइस देखना चाहिए फिर फ्यूचर का प्राइस देखना चाहिए?
हीरो तो यार, हाँ वो तो स्पॉट का ही होता है.
ये सब आप क्यों पूछ रहे हो? हेलो.
हाँ जी बोलिए
ना. आप ये सब वो क्यों पूछ रहे हो? आपके पास में 1 करोड़ रुपया है?
नहीं.
तो फिर क्यों खेलते हो? इसमें आपका पैसा डूब जाएगा. 110% लिख के देता हूँ. मत खेलो ये सब. ये आपका काम नहीं है, मेरा भी काम नहीं है.
जी सर जी.
आप समझो, ये लाइन में बर्बाद हो गए सब लोग.
अभी सर करंटली मैं
बर्बाद हो गए.
अभी करंटली सर मेरे को 7 मंथ हो गए, मैं ऑप्शन ट्रेडिंग बिल्कुल बंद कर रखे हैं.
नहीं तो ऑप्शन ट्रेडिंग बंद कर दिया तो पूछते क्यों हो?
सर रीजंस तो पता होना चाहिए, तो मार्केट को कंटिन्यूस अगर बात कर रहे हैं.
बॉस, रीजंस दुनिया में 50 लाख चीज होती है, तो सबका रीजन आप वो थोड़ी ढूंढोगे. छोड़ दो, सोचो ही मत. जो गली में जाना नहीं है उधर क्यों पूछना और नॉलेज बढ़ाना। कसम से बोलता हूँ, मैं खुद देखता ही नहीं हूँ, और मेरे को खेलना है तो मैं लाखों में खेल सकता हूँ, लेकिन नहीं, वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, मनी, एनर्जी एंड रिजल्ट जीरो। सो डोंट ऑप्शन का बात ही मत करो मेरे पास। और वो सवाल है कोई?
सर अभी जैसे करंट में अभी कौन सा सेक्टर चलने वाला है?
कौन सा सेक्टर? डिवेंचर का सेक्टर चलेगा, बॉन्ड्स।
अभी जैसे इन्फ्लेशन का दौर जारी है मार्केट में, तो इन्फ्लेशन में सबसे अच्छा कौन सा स्टॉक चलता है, कौन सा सेक्टर? सॉरी,
डिफेंस।
तो डिफेंस, इन्फ्लेशन से डिफेंस से क्या ताल्लुक होता है क्या सर?
नहीं, कोई ताल्लुक नहीं होता।
तो डिफेंस का तो ये हो गया कि रसिया यूक्रेन का वार चल रहा है, इसके साथ साथ में भारत का आत्मनिर्भर प्लान चल रहे हैं।
हाँ, तो डिफेंस के शेयर्स बढ़ेंगे, लेके रखो।
और गवर्नमेंट के 10% एथनॉल ब्लेंडिंग का प्रोग्राम चल रहा है, उसमें एथनॉल और शुगर सेक्टर और ग्रीन एनर्जी
अच्छा है, और
अच्छे चलने वाले हैं।
हाँ, चलेंगे।
ओके, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू। अनीश तेली किधर गया? और कोई? डॉक्टर अमित, यू वांटेड टू से एनीथिंग?
यस सर, आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ, आ रही है
सर। एक ऑब्जर्वेशन ये है अभी, जो 2 ईयर यील्ड है ना, वो 3% अबाउट ट्रेड हो रहा है यूएसए। ये लास्ट टाइम हुआ था अक्टूबर 2018। ओके, उसके बाद नवंबर दिसंबर में काफी मींस पैनिक और सेल आया था। तो ये आउटलाइटर है, और ये मैंने काफी दिन से मैं इसको ऑब्जर्व कर रहा था। तो ये मई में हुआ था, करीबन 3 के आसपास गया था। तो उसकी वजह से मुझे लग रहा था कि मैं जो कोरिलेशन वो सब मैं देख रहा था, उसी हिसाब से मैं बोल रहा था कि एक बड़ा फॉल आएगा, मगर रिएक्ट नहीं हुआ। तो आज मैं वेट कर रहा था यही सिग्नल का, जो इन्फ्लेशन आया, क्योंकि मैं भी यही एज्यूम करके बैठा था कि इन्फ्लेशन डाउन आएगा, क्योंकि वहां पे मार्च में 8.5, अप्रैल में 8.3, तो सोचा था कि डाउन स्लोप होगा, मगर ये नहीं हुआ। और यहाँ पे अभी ये 3 के अप ट्रेड हो रहा है। वो 2018 में हुआ था, और उससे पहले जून 2008 में हुआ था। मींस ये पूरे 12 साल में 2-3 बार ही इसका मींस अपीयरेंस हुआ है। तो इसको थोड़ा ऑब्जर्वेशन पे रखना चाहिए आगे के लिए, हाउ इट विल बी रिएक्ट। ये अभी अपवर्ड टेरिटरी में जा रहा है, तो अभी 3 से अब जाएगा 2 ईयर, तो वो टेरिटरी हमने देखी नहीं है, क्योंकि 2018 में होने के बाद वो फेड ने शायद उसी टाइम पे वो आई थिंक ट्रम्प ने इंटरफेयर किया था दिसंबर 2018 के फॉल में, और उन्होंने क्यूई फिर से स्टार्ट कर दिया था। इंटरेस्ट रेट मींस जो अप साइकिल था उसको डाउन में कर दिया था। तो हमने ये टेरिटरी देखी नहीं है, उसके हिसाब से मार्केट कैसे रिएक्ट करता है, कुछ नया होगा तो इसको प्रायोरिटी मेरे हिसाब से देना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये नई टेरिटरी।
थैंक यू।
अरे अखिलेश जी, मेरे को एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था आपसे, जो आपसे मेरे को एक क्वेश्चन पूछना था आपसे क्वेश्चन, कि आपको लग रहा है कि एक वाटरफॉल जैसा फॉल आ सकता है मार्केट में इन द नेक्स्ट 1 वीक? तो इस पे आपको मेरे को चार्ट पे दिखा है, तो इस टर्म में की आपकी डेटा पॉइंट्स क्या है इस पे?
मुझे एक 5% मिनिमम की रेट कैंडल निफ्टी में दिख रही है मेरे हिसाब से आनी चाहिए। टाइम नहीं बता सकते।
कंप्लीटली एग्री विद यू।
सिंगल डे 5%
जो भी है वो लेवल आना ही चाहिए पक्का। वो सुबह में
और इसका इम्पैक्ट कितना होगा, क्योंकि मींस इम्पैक्ट इसलिए है क्योंकि हमने काफी करीबन 15 काफी दिन से अगर 800 फॉल पॉइंट वाइज देखो, आप परसेंटेज भूल जाओ, अभी 16,000 का परसेंटेज वाइज 5% 800 पॉइंट होता है, और जो अभी ऑप्शन में देख रहा हूँ ना वीक से 20 पे, ओके, उस हिसाब से जो पुट राइटर हो या कॉल राइटर है, ओके, तो वो यही समझ रहे हैं कि 300 पॉइंट 400 पॉइंट उस हिसाब से वो रिस्क मैनेज करके वो सेल कर रहे हैं।
करेक्ट।
अगर समझो एक दिन का 800 पॉइंट वाइज फॉल परसेंटेज, ठीक है, वो क्या मीन्स काफी लोगों का अगर मार्जिन पे प्ले कर रहे हैं तो वो कहाँ खड़े होंगे उसके बाद, वो इट इज रियली स्कैरी।
Yeah, absolutely right. Irrespective of what the index options are doing, the stock options है ना, and actually in the beginning of the month, let us say we are just about 10 days into the expiry, right? And it's the long expiry, 31 days है यहाँ पे. Option pricing जो दिख रही है मेरे को, in spite of the VIX environment, बहुत सस्ती है, बहुत सस्ती.
चीपेस्ट है अभी, बहुत चीप है, बहुत चीप.
हाँ. तो that is where I feel कि margin of benefit तुमको देना चाहिए market को.
As we speak, 10-year is 3.14 and 2-year is 3.04 and gold is 1874 and dollar rupee is 78.10.
और सर एक और चीज देखो आप सर, ये डॉलर है ना, जब भी ये स्ट्रेंथ दिखाता है ना, एक दो कंट्री को लेके ही जाता है. अभी ये रिसेंटली श्रीलंका को लेके गया, उसके पहले जब 100 के ऊपर गया था कुछ मिडल ईस्ट में गए थे, पूरी कंट्री लेके जाता है. तो अगर ये डॉलर इंडेक्स कूल नहीं हुआ ना तो काफी कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम होगा, उसका रिप्लिकेशन कहाँ स्प्रेड होगा, वी डोंट नो.
नहीं, और आजकल तो अपने ये टर्की वगैरह का बात ही नहीं करते हैं.
अभी क्या होता है, पहली बार होता है ना ये टर्की, लगता है कि 74% इन्फ्लेशन वाला कोई कंट्री, अभी इतने सारे हो गए तो कॉमन नॉर्मल लग रहा है सर. ये श्रीलंका पूरा चला गया सर, उसके सामने वो अभी खड़ा है, तो वो उसमें क्या
ये यूएसडी टर्की TRY 2017 में 2.5 का था, वो अभी है 17-11, तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट है. देखो इंडिया का क्या होता है
इसमें सर. ऐसा एक पैटर्न होती है ना, वो बोलते हैं ना कि अगर कोई डर है उसको हटा नहीं सकते तो उससे बड़ा डर बता दो आपको तो वो भूल जाएंगे. ऐसा ही रहता है सर.
थैंक यू.
क्या बात बताइए.
और रिक्वेस्ट है कोई?
और सर एक अगर अलाउ करे तो फाइंडर सर से पूछना था. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले मारुति में डिस्कस चल रही थी, ओके, तो मेरा टेक्निकल हिसाब से मैं वहां पे एन का कोरिलेशन में देखता हूँ. जो डॉलर के हिसाब से एन जब डिप्रिशिएशन होता है तो मारुति के प्राइस पे पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट होता है. लॉन्गर टर्म अगर देखे तो कभी होता है वो डिकोरिलेट हो जाता है, मगर ज्यादातर मैक्सिमम 80% टाइम इट इज पॉजिटिव when N is depreciation. This is the technical point of view and that is the fact. अब मैं इसमें एज्यूम्सन ये कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि मेरा फंडामेंटल बैकग्राउंड नहीं, इसलिए आपसे इनपुट लेना था और कोई भी इस पे दे सके कि जब एन डिप्रिशिएशन होता है तो मारुति का जो एक्सपोर्ट जापान से होता है तो उनको बेनिफिट होता है प्राइस में. तो उनका शायद इस हिसाब से मारुति का अभी स्ट्रेंथ ज्यादा दिखाई दे रहा है, मीन्स इतना नेगेटिव एनवायरनमेंट के बाद में. तो उस पे कुछ आप सर बता सके तो.
Fact finder? No, he is not there. Nothing साहब है, नहीं है वो.
सर आपके कुछ आइडिया में तो ऐसा हो सकता है, ये तो मेरी जस्ट एज्यूम्पशन है.
I missed the question. Sorry, what is the question?
अगर एन डिप्रिशिएशन,
You were saying this yen has depreciated against dollar and rupee. So does it benefit Maruti in any way? That's the gist of the question.
Yeah, so if the yen depreciates, it actually no, I don't think it benefits Maruti much because I think a lot of their raw materials have been fixed in rupees. But maybe to some extent, the royalty has been fixed in rupees. The raw materials are fixed in yen. So yeah, there is some bit of benefit if the yen depreciates to Maruti.
No, but also
Okay, thank you, sir.
Dr. Amit, one thing you don't forget, eventually if yen has depreciated, rupee will also depreciate. Time is not far away. Okay.
Okay.
So, Dr. Amit, that's what Sharadji was saying was right. Basically, at the end of the day, when see Japan and Korea are very big fighting companies in terms of world exports in autos, right?
Yes.
You have and electronics, right? You have Samsung in Korea, and you have Hyundai, Kia in Korea, like you have Toyota in Japan, and all. So both are very export-oriented companies, countries, and so they will. There will be some sort of a currency war. Likewise, China will be okay with their currency depreciating a little bit, and because at the end of the day, they are also exporters. So I mean, India doesn't want the currency to depreciate much because they don't want it to be on the headlines, but they will allow it. So eventually, even Indian rupee will depreciate a bit, for sure.
No, fact finder. If you take base rate as 115 of yen to dollar, so it's depreciated by 15 or 17% in
That's right.
in a span of few months.
That's right.
Same way with won. China underplays but is moving towards it. I cannot understand why the hell we don't want our currency to depreciate. What is so good about it? It's only bad. But just because मेरा country अच्छा है, what logic यार? वो 18% डेप्रिशिएट होता है, अपने 76 का 78 आए, कितना हुआ? 2 nothing, 3-4%. Where is the parity, boss? We say inflation. Where the inflation is shown in dollar rupee, it's crazy. And as you are saying, slowly, it's not about you. But what slowly? What for? Manage. Everything you manage. What will you get? And this really, fact finder, I am not able to express but this DII buying, it galls me, boss. You will be tomorrow, in a month they sell 2 lakh crore. Then what will happen? Will they absorb? And for what?
They don't have that kind of money.
No, just a number I said. But what is this, yaar? Every day. Arey, you don't feel like selling anything. Crazy, yaar. See, I am not bearish or bullish or anything. I am practical. This way we'll end up in such a big soup that RBI will have to step in, and eventually RBI also will be in a problem. Come on, yaar. You can't do this. There are ways and means to prop up the market, make some good announcements, blah, blah, blah. But not by buying what they are selling. What do we achieve? Your input, fact finder, on this?
I don't know. I don't have an answer. I mean, we know everything. I think eventually, see, Shaji, I'm not as super bearish as you as far as.
No. I am not bearish. I am practical and I see things as they are.
Yeah. No,
As I said, I have a huge portfolio, boss. How can I be bearish? But these are my views and I see them.
No, I agree with you. See, if you go to China, the domestic market, no, the stock valuations over there were as much as a 50% premium to the Hong Kong valuation. So same company listed in Hong Kong, same company listed in China, valuations was 50% higher premium. Why? Because they didn't have exit to invest outside. So that's irrational, but it exists. And the same thing is over here. So somebody was asking, why can't people take money out? People are taking money out of the country for sure. LRS already this year is 19.5 or $20 billion, which is the highest ever. I think in 2013, 2014, it used to be $1 billion. So we're already up 20 times. But the more important, and if you think of it in the context of mutual fund flows, right? We do about 25,000 crores of mutual fund flows a month. $20 billion is like roughly 150,000 crores, which is about 12,000 crores. So almost half amount of what is a mutual fund inflow is actually going out abroad. Right? Now it could be for different reasons. But the thing is, government has now stopped in January. They said mutual funds that invest abroad in foreign securities should stop taking subscription. So all that Motilal Oswal and that Edelweiss mutual funds, which was giving you the JP Morgan US index or the Franklin Templeton US index or the JP Morgan China index, all of that has stopped. They don't want in domestic investors to invest in foreign stocks. Why should they stop people from investing in mutual funds which invest abroad?
I don't know. And very honestly, our market is very small. Say 240 trillion rupees. अभी क्या है उसमें से 70-80% तो प्रमोटर के पास है, किधर है फ्लोट? So we should insist on promoters offloading, issuing more capital. Lot of things can be done to broaden the market, deep market. एक क्या 20 लाख HDFC बैंक बेचा तो 15 रुपया घट गया. अरे क्या है क्या? What nonsense is this? Anyway, we can't do anything.
It'll be interesting to see what the government of India does as far as this recent. So there was this article. I don't know how many of you noticed. There's this ranking that India received by EPI, 180th rank, the worst in the world in terms of environment. And at the same time, I think in November last year, we received another ranking from another environmental thing as a 10th rank among 60. So I read up on both of them to find out what the difference was. Now, the difference was, it's like this. One ranking is based on actual numbers and one ranking is based on company guidance. So the ranking that we received as number 10 of 60 was based on company guidance, and essentially they ranked you in 4 categories, and one each category at different weights. There's one of the biggest categories where we did very
Your
well.
voice is faded.
I said one of the category, so it's divided into 4 categories. Let's take the example of the place where we got number 10th rank out of 60 countries. And the place where we got the highest points was because our target of going towards 350 gigawatts of thermal power capacity by 2030, that was given a lot of weightage. And based on that, we got a rank of 10. So I was trying to understand which other countries are ahead of us and which are countries behind us. Now, if our rank is 10, and I told you the country like New Zealand is ranked number 22, you will wonder, is India's environment better than New Zealand? Right? It sounds a joke, right? Anybody who's been to New Zealand will tell you it's probably one of the most prettiest and cleanest and environmentally friendly countries in the world. Right? And India's ranking is ahead of New Zealand. Right? India's ranking is ahead of Austria. It's ahead of Germany in terms of environment. So basically, this ranking of 10 that we got was based on our guidance that we will achieve so much in terms of adding capacity. And so they gave us this weight, so we got the rank. It didn't talk about what is our water conservation, what is our biodiversity, what is our, how much have we increased in terms of the number of forest, acreage in the country. So the ranking EPI gave us, which where we are ranked last amongst 180 countries in the world. That honestly to me is a shame. So I went through that to find out what are they, what parameters. So the guy, they said that we value it based on current data and current status, and we review that status every year. We don't look at what your guidance is and what you will do in the future. We look at what it is today. And for instance, they said that, listen, you might have put on so much of renewable capacity, but how much of that capacity actually contributes to the energy that you consume? That is very small. So you are still using more thermal power. You're generating a lot more thermal power. So, basically, India's environment, and for example, we are using more water to do fuel, to generate ethanol, which honestly is bad for the environment. That's actually a negative, not a positive, which is one of the reasons why they had 40 different parameters, and where our ranking was bad, pretty much like 150, 160 in almost all of them. There was one section where we actually pretty well. In fact, there's one ranking out of 100 of the 40 parameters, one ranking where we were number 1, but almost all of the rankings were pretty bad. But it just tells you one thing, that now the government hopefully will be under pressure to start rethinking on its environmental policy, because as per EPI, we have actually reduced a lot of the forest lands and the water spaces, the potable water spaces. That's not good for environment.
No, all these chemical companies are dumping in India. That's also very hazardous, very bad.
I totally agree with you. We should not be encouraging chemical companies in India.
Yeah. But anyway, that's all. Anybody wants to speak?
सर थैंक यू फैक्ट फाइंडर सर एंड आपको भी ये वो मारुति का व्यू देने के लिए। सर एक क्लैरिफिकेशन और देना था, जो ये 5% जो कैंडल का बोला है ना, उसकी 65% अराउंड प्रोबेबिलिटी है। तो कल कोई जाके वीकली मत खरीद लेना, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि कल ही हो जाएगा या कुछ, बस वही तो वो प्रोबेबिलिटी पे है। तो वो आरबीएल वाला हुआ था ना सर,
खरीदेगा तो भी वांदा नहीं है, छोड़ो ना, क्या है। Okay, guys, see you around. And the next space will be on Friday next. Not on Wednesday. It's too much. Okay.
Cool.
Cool. See you guys.
All right, sir. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Good night.